Welcome to TCU on Fox. Tonight we have Big 12 college baseball for you as the TCU Horned Frogs get set to host the UT Rio Grande Valley Vaqueros. Good evening, everyone. I'm Chuck LaMondola along with Ben Carruthers here at Lupton Stadium. Beautiful night for baseball here in Fort Worth as the Horned Frogs continue to hope that they can hit as well as they have over the weekend. They were on fire at the Houston College Classic this weekend. And Ben, as we look forward to tonight's game, though, what do you see from both sides?
Well, the Vaqueros are going to have to try to find some offense from somewhere. They started off the season 0-4. They've won 3 of their last 4, though. They're averaging less than 5 runs per game compared to a TCU clip that's averaging quite a bit more. Scott Mercer leads the team in hitting. He's knocked in 7 so far. And the Vaqueros team ERA is sitting just above 4 earned run average per game. They're going to need to pitch better against this hot TCU lineup. For the TCU Horned Frogs, they swept through the Houston College Classic, beating Louisiana Lafayette, Rice, and Houston. They lead the Big 12 in hitting. They're only giving up about 1 run per game on the mound. The bullpen has not surrendered an earned run in 24 2/3 innings pitched. Lucan Baker and Elliot Barzilli, they're on fire. They've been on base all 7 contests so far this season.
It's TCU and Rio Grande Valley coming up right after this timeout. Welcome back to Fort Worth, Texas, as we get set for the start of tonight's ball game between TCU and UT Rio Grande Valley. Let's take a look at the Vaqueros starting batting order. Jose Garcia will start things off. He'll be followed by Joseph Caluzo. Cole Lonkar bats third. Scott Mercer bats in the cleanup spot. Jacob Huckabee bats fifth. Batting sixth is Austin Oakes. Camden Rochalt bats seventh. Batting eighth is Austin Douglas. And batting ninth, Anthony Gomez for Rio Grande Valley. Defensively for the Horned Frogs, in the outfield left to right, it's Josh Watson, Dane Steinhagen, and Ryan Johnson. On the infield third to first, Elliot Barzilli, Ryan Merrill, Cam Warner, and Connor Wanhanen. Behind the plate, Evan Scoug. And on the mound for the Horned Frogs today is Dalton Horton.
Yeah, Horton, the freshman from Center, Texas, making his first collegiate start. Big guy, 6'4", tossed a no-hitter in high school. He's the first player in 37 years to sign a national letter of intent from Center High School. He has some really good stuff. I think he's going to be a lot like TCU lefty Rex Hill, who will go fastballs early, changeups late, especially to these righty Vaquero hitters. And the Vaqueros are going to have to get some offense mustered early.
First pitch bunted on the ground. Barzilli does a nice job to come up with it cleanly. Makes a good transfer, a strong throw over to first base. And right off the bat, 1 pitch, there's 1 down.
Yeah, and that's a really tough play for Barzilli right out of the chute. Not expecting Garcia to offer bunt at the first pitch of the game. Laid down a pretty good one, but Barzilli, nice one-handed play. Nice strong throw, plenty of time over to Wanhanen at first to get the first out.
It'll bring up Joseph Caluzo. Takes the first pitch in there for a strike. Caluzo hitting .333 with a homer. This is not a power-laden UT Rio Grande Valley team. There's 3 home runs this year, and right now they've struggled a little bit at the plate, hitting just .217.
Yeah, we highlighted in the pregame. They're really struggling, scoring just about 5 runs.
Little flare towards shallow left, late jump by Josh Watson, and that's going to fall in. And that, I think, is more because of the high sky right now. The sun is setting behind the third base or the first base stands. Watson looking back into it. I don't think he got a good read off the bat.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he thought that ball was going to carry out there a little bit more. It's what we call twilight right now. The sun going down and the lights are shining about as bright as the horizon. When that ball goes up, it's the middle infielder's job, mainly the shortstop, is to point that one out. Watson took his first step back, wasn't able to come in fast enough.
The runner takes off, the throw by Scoug down to second base, and he's got him. Good throw by Evan Scoug. Touchdown, Collazo for the second out of the inning.
Yeah, and as good a throw that Scoug made, even better play by Cam Warner at second base to pick that one clean and put the tag down. As he does a great job there staying with that baseball and putting that tag down right where Collazo was going to slide into.
Pitch a little bit off the plate to Cole Longcar, the center fielder, hitting just 133. Warner check swing, and tap slowly foul down the first base line. But Warner's one of those guys who's a converted second baseman. That's not where he originally played. He's learning a whole new spot. He's a corner infielder.
Yeah, and you can see that he has those good hands to play third or first. And you're right, that's not an easy play, but something that the Horned Frogs definitely practiced all fall.
Backdoor breaking ball, strike 3 called, and the Vaqueros are down in order here in the first. No runs, no hits, nobody left on base. We played a half inning, no score. TCU and UT Rio Grande Valley. Back at Lupton Stadium, as a quick inning by Dalton Horton for the Horned Frogs gets his team back in the dugout. Let's take a look at the starting lineup for the Horned Frogs. Connor Wanhanen leads things off. He'll be followed by Cam Warner. Evan Scoug bats third. Lucan Baker, the designated hitter, is the cleanup hitter for TCU. Josh Watson bats fifth. Elliot Barzilli in the 6th hole. Ryan Merrill bats 7th. Dane Steinhagen bats 8th, and batting 9th is the right fielder, Ryan Johnson. Defensively for the Vaqueros, it's Colozo, Longcar, and Oaks across the outfield. Huckabee, Gomez, Rochalt, Mercer on the infield. Douglas is behind the plate, and Koforich is on the mound.
Yeah, Koforich making his first start of the season as well. Has gone a season high 2 1/3 against Abilene Christian back on February 20th. I think his job here today is to do just that. Throw a bunch of strikes, try to keep the Vaqueros in this game early.
Koforich, not a lot of velocity, in the upper 70s, low 80s is what the coaching staff had as far as a scouting report from on him for the Horned Frogs as Wanhanen steps in. Connor Wanhanen hitting 267 on the year. That's well below where he hit last year as a freshman. He's hit the ball hard a lot of times, just hasn't gotten a lot of them to fall in yet, but he's got too sweet of a swing not to pick things up as the year goes on.
Absolutely. He hits the ball hard just about every at bat. He seems to always have good at bats, seen a lot of pitches.
When Nolan Brown finally comes back, as the breaking ball is outside, when Nolan Brown finally comes back, Wanhanen will drop to a more comfortable place for him, number 2 hole.
And just think what that TCU lineup's going to look like with the speed of Nolan Brown up top and the ability for Wanhanen to drop down one.
Outside. And right now the Horned Frogs, at least Wanhanen, being very patient at the plate. Over the last couple of years, Ben, we've looked up and down this Horned Frog lineup, and you didn't see a whole lot of power or big numbers on the average as Wanhanen draws a walk. But right now, here in the early going, you look down, and most of the guys, especially the meat of the order, hitting 300 plus.
Yeah, it's definitely a different lineup than we're used to seeing, and as hot as this TCU offense is coming into this ball game, I think the junior Austin Kufrovich, who we're looking at here, a transfer from Brookhaven Junior College, comes in 7-2 record last year. He was a junior college All-American. You know, I think this is the right guy to try to slow down this offense. It's really easy to hit fastballs. It's really easy to hit fastballs, especially when you're swinging it good. It's really hard to stay patient and hit off-speed pitching whenever you're seeing the ball so well like the Horned Frogs are.
Cam Warner at the plate now for the Horned Frogs. TCU second baseman takes the first pitch for a ball. Well, Warner had a long trip from home to here, from Canberra, Australia. Be a junior college, but takes a strike.
Hill Junior College seems to always have players from Australia. From Canberra, came from Hill College down there in Hillsborough, the 6'2 junior.
Throw over, and Wanhanen is back. TCU has stolen 12 of 15 this year. Wanhanen 4 for 5, leading the way for the Horned Frogs. Boy, the Frogs look really good down at the Shriners Hospital for Children's College Classic this past weekend. Foul, right side, now to play.
Yeah, if you were to tell me that the Horned Frogs were going to outscore the opponents this last weekend by 25 runs, I would have thought that they would have had to score, I don't know, 40 runs maybe. They only gave up 1 run all weekend, or 2 runs all weekend. It's just crazy what they were able to do. And I think it's a nice early sign for the Horned Frogs too that Juan Honan saw a lot of pitches. Warner's seen a lot of pitches here. I think that that's what their game plan coming into this game is make Kufrovic come at you, make him throw strikes, put the ball in play, let the Vaqueros play with it.
Fouls a breaking ball off towards the hill on the right side. I think Bill Mosiello, talking to his hitters earlier, was just saying, we don't have a lot of information on this guy. We do know he doesn't throw very hard, and you're going to have to be patient. You're going to have to sit back and wait, just try to hit the ball back through the middle.
Yeah, and sometimes that's the best when you don't have a lot of information, because you can do exactly that. Just wait for your pitch and try to hit it right back up the middle.
Foul. Came in with a fastball, but it was only 84 miles an hour. But coming off of that mid-70s, you see Warner was late on that.
Yeah, I think that just speaks back to his approach also. They're trying to take those fastballs the other way, and then if he does flip something off speed there, if you're a little early on it, you're still going to keep it in the field of play.
Nice stop behind the plate by Austin Douglas, the catcher. And that ball got by him. Juan Honan would have scurried to second without any problem. Kufrovic, though, pitch count starting to rise already. 11 pitches, he hasn't gotten it out yet.
And I don't think that Juan Honan would look to steal here, but this is probably the pitch to do it, because Kufrovic does not want to go 3-2. So he might try to pump a fastball in here, see if Juan Honan is moving to open up the middle of that field.
This ball's hammered towards straightaway center field. Cole Loncar on the run. Can't get to it. It disappears over the wall. A home run to straightaway center field for Cam Warner. It's his first of the year. He's now driven in 8, and the Horned Frogs have a 2-0 lead.
And that was an absolute bomb by Warner as he sat back on what looked like a changeup. Might have been a hanging slider, but just got every bit of that baseball and drove it deep over the right center wall. And on a night like tonight, to get it out in that area of the ballpark, that's a big fly right there.
It sure is. That is a long way from home plate. That's the 7th home run of the year for the Horned Frogs, who continue to pound the baseball. When TCU has just been on fire offensively all year long. It's been impressive. Evan Skaug swings at a breaking ball. It's a towering fly ball on the infield, and calling for it was the shortstop behind second base, and actually on the second base side before he made the catch.
Yeah, that's a good job by Anthony Gomez taking control of the situation there. As you could see, second baseman Caden Rosshold was having trouble locating that, but yeah, this TCU offense just continues to produce.
7th home run in 8 games for the Horned Frogs. Here's a guy who has 2 of them, Luken Baker. Baker's average up over 300 now at 304 to go along with those 2 homers. He takes the pitch down low. Baker hit his home run down in Minute Maid Park. I don't know, you've been down there or you've seen it. There's the train track that runs along at the top of where the roof closes. It was on the railroad track.
So it was a la Albert Pujols.
Yes, just about where he hit it too, but just a little bit lower. So instead of 500 feet, it might have went 475.
I'm sure Pujols probably hits it a little bit further than Baker, but not for long, I bet.
Yeah, it was definitely crushed.
Yeah, I was able to see a couple videos of it.
The impressive thing about Luken Baker is he's been great at the plate, terrific on the mound, but pitches like that, he just doesn't swing at a lot of bad pitches. And a lot of times, freshmen, they struggle making the transition from high school, no matter how good they were or what level they played at, to college baseball. But he lays off a lot of those off-speed pitches, which forces the pitcher to have to come in with fastballs, and he just has been dialed in.
Yeah, he definitely puts himself in good hitters' counts.
Just like that, he's willing to take the walk, even though he's the cleanup hitter.
Yeah, I think some of that goes to that he's gotten off to such a hot start, and he's been playing, and whenever he's not pitching, he's DHing. You know, for a guy coming in like Baker, so highly touted out of high school, the Gatorade Player of the Year, if he were to have started off, you know, maybe 0 for 5, 0 for 6, he might have pressed a little bit, but you can definitely see that he is as advertised.
Here's another guy who's as advertised coming out of high school. This young man at Arlington Martin has been excellent for TCU. Josh Watson takes the first pitch for a strike. 360 on the year. Hit a big 3-run home run on Sunday.
Yeah, and the beauty of Watson is he's going to hit in the middle of this TCU lineup, and he's a switch hitter, so he can get, you know, you can put him in there against a lefty right here. You can have 3 straight righties batting with Barzilli on deck, or if they were throwing a righty, you can mix him in as a lefty. So a lot of versatility with the freshman, shown some good range on the outfield too, and yeah, he is a really good hitter.
Now, Jim Schlossnagle was impressed by the fact that he's kind of figured out how to play a corner outfield position, because he was a center fielder in high school and had to learn, or is learning really, how to play one of the corner outfield positions. Throw behind Baker, and he's back to the bag. Lukin not the fleetest of foot. An average runner over at first base. So he got back in plenty of time.
And speaking of people being fleeted of foot, Watson doesn't look like it, but he can really run too.
Yeah, he can.
You know, we saw him leg out a triple early in the season, and you know, he's built pretty large on the lower half and upper body, but he can really scoot around the bases.
Leads the team in triples with 2. Bouncer left side, nice play by the third baseman Huckabee, and he goes to second for 1, and that's all they'll get. Not hit hard enough to turn 2. There are 2 ways. Baker's raced out at second. Watson takes over at first on the fielder's choice. That goes 5-4.
Yeah, good play there by Huckabee. His throw was a little errant to Rosholt there at second. I don't think they would have been able to double up Watson, as you can see him getting down the line, but throw was a little bit to the right of the bag. Rosholt did a good job just to hang on, and with Baker bearing down, that's not someone you want to be in the base pass when that guy's running.
So it'll be up to Elliot Barzilli to keep the inning alive for the Horned Frogs. Throw over, and Watson had a pretty good lead. He's chased back to the bag. The Horned Frogs have stolen 12 of 15. Talked about that when Juan Hunter was on a moment ago. You see Barzilli to transfer from Georgia Tech last year in his junior campaign, but TCU has the ability to steal more bases. They just haven't had a need this early. The ball gets through the catcher's legs. Douglas can't find it, and Watson will end up at second. Should be a pass ball on that one. Went right through the legs of Douglas. Didn't even look like it was not hit the dirt.
Yeah, they might have got the signals crossed up there. Douglas couldn't locate that at first. I think Watson had it in his mind he was going to stop at second all the way. Yeah, it looked like he was expecting it to bounce, and he just never did, and went just to the right of his glove. So Watson in scoring position now for Barzilli, who, numbers don't lie, he's definitely the hottest Horned Frog hitter to start this season.
Yeah, he was up over 700 up until Sunday's game. Throw out the second, and Watson is back. Barzilli on Sunday was 0 for 4, although he did hit the ball sharply a couple of times.
That's pretty nice when you can go 0 for 4 and your average is still hovering right around 600 on the season. that means you have not gotten out very much.
I know. You remember those days.
Yeah.
On the ground at the third baseman, Huckabee knocks it down and then throws across in time to retire Barzilli. But the Horned Frogs get on the board first. They pick up 2 runs on the Cam Warner home run. After 1, it's 2-0 TCU. Back at Lupton Stadium, 2-0. TCU in the lead here in the top half of the second. Jim Schlossnagle in his usual spot, leaning against the wall nearest home plate in the TCU dugout in his 13th season as the leader of the Frogs. You see the winning percentage there, terrific. He's the winningest coach in TCU history. 22-0 against UT Rio Grande Valley and/or what they used to be called prior to UT Pan Am at Elon College. Originally from Western Maryland. Pitches in the dirt. He was honored at his high school this past winter.
Yeah, and there's no doubt that he has built a powerhouse baseball program here at TCU. They are always nationally ranked, back-to-back College World Series. Been to Omaha one other time in 2010, and you know, in his time here, he has seen a transformation in not only the facilities here and the program, but just the overall attitude of TCU baseball. It's a place that people want to come now. And, you know, 13, 14 years ago, that might not have been the case.
Foul back by Scott Mercer. Mercer with a nice average so far on the year, hitting .348, 8 of 23, has driven in 7. Out of the cleanup spot.
Yeah, he's been a bright spot for the Vaqueros early on this season.
On the ground towards short, Ryan Merrill comes up with a big hop, and there's a nice play by Juan Hanen on the short hop over at first base. And you know, Connor moving from the outfield to first, that's a tough play for a guy who hasn't had a lot of time over at first.
Yeah, it really is. You know, I was watching him pregame, taking some balls from the shortstop position that were getting hit at him, scooping it, and you can see him very nice there, making sure picking that ball. But you know, got to pick on Merrill there a little bit. I think that if he would have came and charged that, would have been a much easier throw. You could tell that he didn't get a whole lot on that throw because he was left flat-footed out there. But you know, this is an infield that if you want to come get a big hop, you can do that.
Jacob Huckabee out of Bryan, Texas. Redshirt junior. Takes the pitch down low. Well, so far, Dalton Horton's pitched well for the Horned Frogs. Just now up to 15 pitches. He's already got an out here in the second inning. So he's been very efficient. Good fastball up in the strike zone. Had him chasing.
And he gets right back up on that mound ready to go. I would think that if they got 4 solid innings out of Horton tonight, that would probably be good enough for Jim Schlossnagle and staff.
Merrill with another chance. This time fires a bullet to get Huckabee over at first base. And he didn't hesitate on that one. He just uncorked one.
Yeah, that was picture perfect right there by Merrill. I think that if Jim Schlossnagle can get 4 innings out of his starter, then he can work that bullpen that might need a little bit of work with Gonzaga coming in this week. They got such good starting pitching this last weekend that, you know, they only played a 7-inning game against Rice. They didn't really have to use a whole lot of guys, definitely not in stressful situations. So I think you'll see some of the likes of their better arms later on in this game.
Austin Oaks from right here in Fort Worth at the plate. Fouls that pitch off. Oaks transferred in from Fort Scott Community College. Not sure what high school he went to, but I'm sure he's got a few fans in the stands here tonight. Fastball missed upstairs, although they're not in the lower bowl since that is completely sold out. Maybe up on the upper deck in the corner. Swung at a high fastball, fouled it directly back. So the count stays at a ball and 2 strikes.
Yeah, and after being a really pretty day in the Fort Worth area today, it's getting a little chilly out right now. The wind's picking up a little bit, but a nice crowd on hand here on Tuesday night for the Horned Frogs in Rio Grande Valley.
You take a look at the flags. Wind about 15 miles an hour right now out of the north. That's what makes it feel colder. Barzilli tried to make a play on it, got a glove on it, and that deflected it away from Merrill. Not sure Merrill would have been able to throw Oaks out over at first base so deep in the hole, but any chance of that was lost when Barzilli deflected it.
Yeah, I think if Barzilli maybe came up with that cleanly, he would have had a shot. But Merrill comes up firing on that. I think Oaks is definitely going to be safe at first. And really good job there by Merrill running that down, preventing Oaks from advancing to second base.
It's a hit for Oaks. He's aboard over at first base with 1 out. And Camden Rosehalt at the plate drops a bunt down. Picked up by Horton. Does a nice job to just gather himself and then throw to first base for the final out of the inning. For Rio Grande in the second, no runs on a hit. They leave a man. 2-0 TCU as we go to the bottom of the second inning. Welcome back to Lupton Stadium as you get a good look at Manny Montrata in his 7th season as the head coach of UT Rio Grande Valley. Very good pedigree for Montrata. He played at LSU and then played with the Tigers, the Mets, and the Brewers in the big leagues. So, it's going to take some time, but I think little by little he's figuring it out. They're now in the WAC, so they have a league and an opportunity to play in postseason if they can win the conference. So, see if Manny Montrata can't get it turned around.
Yeah, and what a great guy to learn from. Guy that played in college at a very high level and then was able to spend some time with some big clubs. And, he's produced some good players here. Most recently, Logan Landon from last year, who came in here. I don't think that he had gotten out all season when he came in here and went 2 for 4 and hit a home run. So he's going to get some good players, and I definitely agree being in the WAC is going to help that out tremendously.
Bottom third of the TCU batting order here in the second. It's Merrill, Steinhagen, and Johnson for the Frogs. Ryan Merrill out of Iowa Western Community College, originally from Omaha, was drafted right behind Keaton Jones.
Yeah, how about that? That's probably the only time in college baseball that the 4-year starter will get drafted right ahead of the guy that's going to come replace him at the same position. So I wonder if they planned that like that.
Pitch missed for a ball. Merrill's been battling a little bit of a back issue here in the early season and been trying to get that all figured out. Danny Wheat's been telling Jim Schlossnagle will kind of limit his time. That's why he hasn't played in every single game at short. Bounces this one up the middle. He picks up a leadoff single.
Yeah, nice piece of hitting there by Merrill. Just taking what the pitcher is going to give him, shooting that one right back up the middle. Out of the outstretched reach of Anthony Gomez to get the Frogs started here in the second. Yeah, and anything back related is something you definitely don't want to mess with all the diving that shortstops do, and with as much as Merrill is going to be on base, diving headfirst into bags. Get that under control, because as we know, it is a grind of a season that is just beginning.
Dane Steinhagen at the plate now with a runner over at first. Nobody out here in the second. And the throw over.
Oh, I thought that.
Yeah, you don't want to mess around with it, and that's what Danny Wheat said. Let's take it slow here in the early part of the year. That way he's available every day late. Steinhagen out of Beaumont, Texas, Howard College. Had a good year last year for the Horned Frogs. Does a good job here. Nice play, though, by the second baseman, Rosehalt, to take a base hit away from Steinhagen. Boy, he was robbed of a base hit there.
You're not going to see a better play by a second baseman than that. Rosehalt just full extension. Steinhagen loves that right side of the field. You can see Rosehalt shaded up the middle, full extension. Plays that bounce perfectly, too. Kind of had to look in his glove to make sure he had it. I'm sure he felt it, but what a play by the freshman out there.
They did a great job. Covered a lot of ground. I thought when that ball was off the bat, as hard as it was hit, there was no chance for him to get over and make the play, but he did.
Yeah, and that ball is tailing to his left, too, so it's going away from him as he's running at it. You got to cover a lot of ground to get that.
Pitch to Ryan Johnson. It's taken for a ball. Rosehalt out of Cedar Park, Texas. Ryan Johnson, a freshman out of College Station. Frogs had a pretty good player out of College Station the last few years.
Yeah, he threw decently hard, too, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Pretty good guy to have coming out of the bullpen in the last inning. And Riley Farrell, also from College Station. Tried to catch the corner with that little breaking ball. Ryan Johnson not quite getting untracked yet. Hitting .231. In fall practice, there were some displays of how much power he has. He was launching some balls into the bushes out there in right field, but that's yet to manifest itself in the game. This one hit the other way. Played by Gomez. The throw in time. They're two-way on the play. Merrill advances over to third.
Yeah, that's good base running there by Merrill, and a good play by Gomez to decide to throw that to first and go ahead and get the second out. He very easily could have tried to get Merrill going to third, but makes a strong throw to get the second out of the inning. I think if that was early in the inning, you maybe try to cut Merrill down at third to try to keep him off of third with less than 2 outs, but with the 1 out already, smart play by Gomez to throw to first.
Connor Wanhanen at the plate now, shows bunt, takes the pitch for a ball, and good job that time by Austin Douglas, the catcher, to smother that one. If it gets past him, Merrill will score easily from third. Wanhanen with a walk last inning, leading the game off for the Horned Frogs, scored ahead of the home run by the on-deck hitter, Cam Warner. And outside.
And you can tell that Wanhanen is really not getting a whole lot to hit from Kufrovic. I definitely think probably 2-0 here. He's not just going to lay one in there for him. He's going to try to make him work for it.
Wanhanen fights it off and fouls it left side and out of play over the new building out there. Coaches' offices and locker rooms. And Merrill getting good lead off of third base. See Bill Mosiello right behind him. Kufrovic tried to get him to chase that breaking ball, but I don't think it was close enough to really entice Wanhanen, who has a good eye.
Yeah, and with Kufrovic going out of the windup, it's given Merrill the opportunity to kind of get a walking lead. So anything that bounces and just gets a little bit away from catcher Austin Douglas, Merrill could try to scamper on home. That's the disadvantage of going out of the windup in a situation like this and just going out of the stretch. But I think what Austin is thinking is, let's just work on Wanhanen and let's not worry about Merrill standing down there at third base.
Wanhanen shoots it down the left field line. If it's fair, it's trouble, but it ends up about 6 inches foul down the left field line. That's the one thing about Wanhanen, and he did it last year as a freshman. He's not afraid to go the other way. If the ball's on the outer part of the plate, he doesn't try to hook it. He just goes with it. Real good approach.
Yeah, he's got a really simple approach. He keeps his hands real quiet and really inside of the baseball. And so whenever those balls do come in inner half to him, he's able to pull his hands through and get the barrel of the ball. That's whenever he's hitting the right center gap and can hit it down the right field line. But those balls that just hang out over the plate, he's keeping that barrel back. He can shoot it the other way.
That one off his fists. Well, there's a TCU dugout. Wanhanen just taking a moment to gather himself at home plate. Think about this one pitch and see if he can't win it. Drive Merrill in from third. Kufrovic delivers in the air to left field. Easy chance for Cuazzo, and as he makes the catch for the Horned Frogs, no runs, a hit, 1 man left. We played 2-0 TCU.
Big 12 Showcase presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors on Fox Sports Southwest.
We get to the top half of the third inning. Dalton Horton's done a nice job. Just 23 pitches to get through the first couple of innings. UT Rio Grande Valley has scattered a couple of hits. Leading things off will be the catcher, Austin Douglas. As he makes his way towards home plate.
Yeah, Horton's done a really good job so far in his first collegiate start. Had made one appearance last week against Arkansas Pine Bluff, but been very efficient, been throwing a lot of strikes, getting ahead of hitters. I think exactly what TCU coaching staff wanted him to do.
And this is a little bit of an audition for all these guys. I mean, a lot of the other pitchers besides the guys who've been working on the weekends, I mean, opportunity to show Coach Lostnagel you belong on as the Tuesday night starter. You see Douglas out of Cannon City, Colorado, hitting just .211 on the year. And you know, these first few games of the year, he's certainly looking for guys who want to step in or can step in and do the job. He may not have played well in the fall or this early spring, and I'm not saying that Horton didn't. I'm just saying that you get an opportunity here when the lights come on to all of a sudden show what you can do.
Yeah, and also, later on in the season, TCU has April 5th and 6th. They'll play back-to-back midweek games against UT Arlington, Louisiana Monroe, and then once you get into the postseason, it's you could play 6 games in a weekend in a regional if you lose the first game. So you always got to have guys that are comfortable starting. You just can't rely on 4, and then anything can happen once you get into the College World Series. You could play as many games as that as well. So yeah, I think definitely it is an audition for Horton.
First free pass issued by Horton here tonight as Douglas goes down to first base with the leadoff walk, and it'll bring up the 9-hole hitter, shortstop Anthony Gomez. The Vaqueros have had a runner on in every inning so far, but been unable to do anything with it. And Gomez shows bunt, offers at the pitch. Strike one.
And I think when you're struggling offensively like the Vaqueros have so far this season, this is a good call here to try to get a runner in scoring position with less than 2 outs. Try to see if you can't manufacture a run and cut this lead in half.
Throw over to first base, and Douglas chased back. Vaqueros 0 for 1 in stolen bases today. Collazo tried to steal back in the first, was thrown out. Gomez squares again and squares early. He's giving himself up if he can, and fouls that one at the plate. When you square that early and you're giving yourself up, you've got to get the ball down.
Yeah, and you have to stay in the box and see that ball hit your badge. You could see that Gomez was trying to get out of there. If you're like you said, if you're squaring that early, you're not bunting for a hit. It's obvious what you're doing. You've got to see that ball down, get it in a good spot. And looks like he's going to square again here with 2 strikes.
Offers at that one, foul, tipped it, and he's down on strikes. But I like that from Manny Mantrana. I think you send a message to your team that when I ask you to bunt, I am asking you to bunt.
Yeah, absolutely. And looked like Horton threw a little slider curveball in there and changed the eye level of Gomez. I agree. If I'm going to put the bunt on with no strikes or 1 strike, I'm going to put it on with 2 strikes because the job is still the same. Nothing has changed. Bunt it, strikes, get it down. If it's not a strike, take it.
Top of the order, Joe Garcia at the plate. Taps this one slowly towards third. Barzilli with a tough play. Does he get it over in time? He does. Nice play by Elliot Barzilli. That was not an easy play, and Gomez, or Garcia rather, was running well down the first base.
Yeah, that was tougher than the bunt in the first, as Barzilli had really no time. He had to scoop and throw that. I think that's a TCU play made famous by Matt Carpenter right there. Probably watch film on him. I think I saw Carpenter do that about 200 times.
Yeah, Matt was really good at that play, coming in, charging and getting rid of the baseball. He's still pretty good at it.
He's decent at it still, I would say. They're hit a little bit harder up there, though.
That is true. Good backdoor breaking ball that time by Horton.
Yeah, and what I really liked on that play that Barzilli made was Evan Skaug ran all the way down to third base to cover it up so the Vaquero base runner could not advance to third base. Really heads up, something that's not going to show up in a box score.
Collazo 1 for 1, had a base hit back in the first. That was a nice breaking ball right there. That one started off the plate and ended up on the outside corner.
Yeah, he's got a lot of things going pretty good for him right now. I mean, I think he threw a no-hitter in high school and struck out 20 guys. That means that there only one guy didn't strike out. That is insane.
Missed outside with the pitch. Well, you know, he's got good stuff, obviously. TCU trying to get the final out here in the top half of the third. Bounced over the mound. Warner, easy play. Made it look simple as he sidearmed it over to first base. That will do it. In the third for UT Rio Grande Valley. No runs, no hits. They leave a man. 2.5 in the books. It's 2-0 TCU. Bottom of the third here in Fort Worth. 2-0 TCU. You take a look at the Vaqueros bench, and you might be wondering how they kind of got to be the Vaqueros. They used to be UT Pan Am, and they merged with UT Brownsville in 2013 to combine to create the UT Rio Grande Valley. And the first class will be this fall, or was in the fall of 2015, the first graduating class out of the new school, and they'll open a medical school in 2016.
Yeah, and I think what I like most about it is their uniforms that they're rocking tonight. I think those are pretty sweet.
Well, it's a combination of, I guess, the two. I mean, Pan Am used to be green and orange.
Yep.
I'm not sure what UT Brownsville was. They're doing a little dancing in the stands, keeping warm.
And we're very familiar with UT Pan Am, as I think we played them every year that I was there here at TCU, and played at the Al Ogletree Classic my freshman year, and then played them 3 games my senior year. So long history between these two clubs.
Cam Warner, who homered back in the first inning at the plate, swung through that first pitch. 1 for 1 for Warner, who's got his average up to 231 now. Yeah, it's been a long history. I mean, this is what, the 61st, I think, meeting between these two schools, although the first 60 of them came when it was UT Pan Am. But Horned Frogs with a sizable 46-13 advantage. Lined right at the shortstop, knocked down by Gomez, and he's not going to have a play on Warner over at first base. So a couple of balls really scalded today by Cam Warner.
And that should probably go down as a hit, as Gomez really had no chance but to just throw his chest at it, as Warner just ripped this, what looked like a hanging breaking ball. And I think that if it wouldn't have gone as far as it did, Gomez could have picked that up and thrown him out, but Warner getting down the line real well. I'm sorry, that was Rosshold over there playing in that hole, as it looks like Rosshold's moved over to shortstop, and we've got a new second baseman.
Curveball fouled. This one will reach the seats on the left side and out of play. And it is Rossholt at short. We'll see if we can get the new second baseman for you.
I think that's Isaac Gonzalez, number 23. Scouts had a couple of pretty big cuts early in his at-bats. Just missed his first one, popped it straight up, and then to start this at-bat took a big cut too. And a guy that is not scared to take rips. Whenever he connects, he can hit it a long way.
Surprisingly enough, he's just got one extra base hit that came on Sunday. This year, delayed steal. Warner takes off, and on the double clutch, the ball almost went into center field. Nice play by Isaac Gonzalez to cut that one off before it went into center.
Yeah, and Kufrovich has shown a pretty good move, so the way to combat that is do a little delayed steal. All you have to do right there is fool one of the middle infielders or the catcher, and you'll be safe. And as you can see, even a good throw, Cam Warner would have been in there easily. Really good play by Gonzalez to track that ball down.
So Scout with a chance to drive in a run here and add to the Frog lead if he can come up with a base hit. Now time is called as Scout gets John Osmus for time.
Yeah, and this could be a dangerous pitch here. You don't want to get in a 3-1 count to Scout, potentially walking him and then getting a couple guys on for Luke and Bakers. I think that's exactly what Jim Schlossnagle wants in this situation. That's why you have these guys hitting in the middle of the order, because they're a force to be reckoned with there.
In the dirt, nice stop by Douglas. The throw out to second, but Warner able to get back.
You know, Warner, good anticipation there, looking for that ball in the dirt. Really good stop there by Douglas. And you know, Randy Mazey, who is now the head coach at West Virginia, used to always say, you don't go halfway or you don't go, you know, midway. You get off as far as you can, knowing that you can get back safe. That's exactly what Warner did in that situation there. Is, you know, you're supposed to dive back into the base if you're trying to advance to the next one. That means that you're being aggressive and getting as far as you can off of there.
Scout will take a walk. Now put runners at first and second.
A nice patient at bat there by Evan Scout. Very easily could have offered it that on 3-1, but knew that Baker's behind him, is going to give him the opportunity to hit with a couple guys on base.
You talk about Randy Mazey. He'll bring his West Virginia Mountaineers into Lupton Stadium on March 18th, 19th, and 20th. The opening of Big 12 play.
Mountaineers are off to a pretty good start. Just swept UNLV out there in Las Vegas this past weekend.
Baker with a walk. His first time up, takes that breaking ball outside. Lucan showing patience again. Baker with a chance to add to the Horned Frog lead here. Runners at first and second. Nobody out for TCU here in the third. They already lead at 2-0. That's what I mean by showing patience. That pitch was over the plate, a little bit on the high side, and Baker didn't even offer at it. And a lot of time, you know, freshmen will lunge at those balls and pop them up on the infield, but Baker just stood there and took it.
Yeah, those big guys that like to mash like Baker does, you see a pitch up in the zone like that and your eyes light up, and you know, you want to take a hack at it, but you know, he showed a lot of good patience there laying off of it, as we're going to have a mound visit by the Vaqueros pitching coach. It's like Brian Nelson, who's in his first season.
And Texas A&M. He goes out and have a couple of words with his starter, who's now up to 46 pitches.
Yeah, and I don't really think that there's a whole lot you can tell him in this situation, except you've got to throw him something in the zone but make it a good pitch. There's no way that we can go 3-0 to Baker and then potentially walk him, load the bases with no outs for Josh Watson. You know, really got to bear down here and try to make some quality pitches to see if Baker can roll one over and get a double play.
Bullpen getting busy in right field for the Vaqueros. That is Robert Quinones. So Baker up now. Warner out at second. Scout over at first, and Lucan takes the pitch on the outside corner for a strike.
Yeah, I think Baker was probably taking all the way there, knowing that if he's going to see a fastball like that 2-0, he's probably going to see one again during this count if he can't, you know, he doesn't swing at a bad pitch here.
Cued that one off the end of the bat. Well, the count will leave it up.
And Kufrovich has got himself back in a situation to where he can flip another one of those up there and see if Baker can roll one over and get a double play. That would be huge right now for this Vaqueros ball club. There's one swing of the bat from Baker, and this could turn into a 5-run lead.
The wind has died down a little bit, not blowing nearly as hard as it was earlier in the game. The flags aren't moving nearly as much. Baker does a good job to lay off. They're going to throw behind Warner out at second, and they throw it away as they try to go to third. 1 run scores. Scow rounded second, took a big turn, has to go back to second base. That's an interesting play by Warner. He was just basically baiting him to throw.
Yeah, I think he was anticipating that ball getting away again. Douglas, another good play, and you're right. He basically wanted Douglas to throw that ball to Gonzalez, and if Gonzalez would have made a good throw, I think that he would have been out. Very interesting. And Scow running all the way around. He almost tried for third base too, but he'll stop at second. And you know, I like the aggressive base running, but you know, with one of your better hitters up and no outs, you're probably better off being safe in that situation.
Ball 4, Lucan Baker walks. Second time in the ball game. Baker's walked second consecutive free pass issued by Kufrovich. And it will bring up Josh Watson. That's the one thing you like about this TCU batting order this year. It is long and lengthy in terms of guys who can hit. As here comes Manny Mantrana out of the dugout. Second visit to the mound here in this inning. So he will go to the bullpen, and they will call on Robert Quinones. Will come on the pitch here. While a new pitcher comes on, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back and tell you all about him right after this. The new pitcher is Robert Quinones for the Vaqueros.
Yeah, the sophomore out of Corpus Christi, Texas, has made 1 appearance so far in 2016. ERA of 13.5, given up 3 runs and 5 hits on 2 innings pitched. Has a walk and a strikeout. Last year was used primarily as a starter for the Vaqueros. Started 10 games, had a complete game shutout against Arlington Baptist. He struck out 8 hitters. So he's probably one of their better arms coming out of the bullpen.
So Kufrovich, he goes 2 innings, gives up 3 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned, 4 walks, no strikeouts through 2 wild pitches, and ended up throwing a total of 52 pitches while he was in the ballgame. And he leaves on the wrong side of a 3-0 score right now.
Yeah, got himself just in a little bit too much trouble with the walks and putting free passes on, and has now left Quinones in a tough spot here facing Josh Watson with 2 on and nobody out here in the Horned Frogs third. The Horned Frogs will look to create one of those big innings that they had so many of down there in Houston. It seemed like every time the opposition gave the Horned Frogs an opening, the Horned Frogs took it and capitalized on it, whether it was a booted ball or a pass ball or walks. It seemed like every time they came up with guys on base, they were hitting doubles, and then all of a sudden they hit a home run, and you look up and they've scored 6 or 7 runs. So, you know, if that's the makeup of this team, it kind of reminds me of teams in the past that just, they created opportunities for themselves, and then whenever the opposition gave them opportunities, they really, really bounced on them.
Watson skies this one towards the left side. It ends up on the ground before Cayozo can get to it. Yeah, the Frogs had a couple of big innings. They put up a lot of crooked numbers in that 3-game series. Had, I think, the 3rd inning down in Houston against Houston. They put up a 5 spot, so.
Yeah, I think we were talking last week about the pitching staff and how many innings were lost when you think about Alex Young and Preston Morrison and Tyler Alexander and Trey Teakle and then with Riley Farrell. And kind of the pressure maybe that this year's pitching staff had on them. Whenever your offense is going out there and scoring runs like that, it takes the pressure completely off, because then all you have to do is throw strikes. And, you know, we know better than anyone, the hitters are going to get themselves out the majority of the times. You know, you can put a ball on a tee and you're going to get yourself out. So, you know, the job of the pitcher is just to go out there and throw strikes.
Taken down low by Watson, who flipped around to the opposite side, batting left-handed. Watson bounced into a fielder's choice, his only time to the plate. Quinones taking his time, waiting for the sign from Douglas.
Nope.
Just low. 89-mile-an-hour fastball that time. So a little more velocity from Robert Quinones. Baker over at first for the Horned Frogs. Scoug out at second, a run in. Josh Watson tries to give Scoug a ride home from second base. Good job of holding up on that backdoor breaking ball attempt. And Watson walks. That'll load the bases up. 3 consecutive walks. And the Horned Frogs have the bases loaded for Elliot Barzilli. Over at third, Scoug for the Horned Frogs. He walked earlier this inning. Out at second, Lucan Baker also walked. And over at first base is Josh Watson, who just walked a second ago.
And looks like the Vaqueros are going to play their middle infield back. Looks like actually their entire infield is going to be back, so they're going to be looking for a double play ball, conceding this run here with no outs.
Barzilli hits it high in the air to deep left field. Caiozzo going back. He's at the wall. It's off the top of the fence. Scoug scores. Baker's right behind him, and here comes Watson trailing. And Barzilli is in at third. Now the ball gets away, and Barzilli's going to try and score. Here's the play at the plate, not in time. A bases clearing triple, and then an error allows Barzilli to get up and scamper home, and the Horned Frogs put up a big inning.
And Barzilli did not miss a grand slam by much there, as that went off the middle of the wall and took a big carom back towards the infield. Watson was already all the way around second base by the time that landed. Barzilli on his horse has the presence of mind, because that ball did not get very far away from the Vaqueros' third baseman Huckleby, and what a slide by Barzilli coming out of there. I bet that guy is out of gas. Not a lot of times that you have a what they call a little league inside the park home run, but it's going to go down as a triple and 3 RBIs for Barzilli.
The first pitch behind Ryan Merrill. See who the error goes on. And see exactly who the relay throw came from. Was Rosehalt or Gonzalez?
I think it was Gonzalez who was the trail guy on that tandem, and just what Jim Schlossnagle wanted, a 5 spot here in the third to get this game 7-0. Still nobody out.
Merrill had a base hit, his lone time to the plate in the second. Takes a strike.
You know, and I think this start during this game for TCU really speaks volume of the character of these guys. It could have been very easy to lollygag into this game and think that this game was just going to be a walk in the park, especially after having the weekend that they had and coming off of that high and coming out and taking advantage of situations, having patient at bats, and then waiting for pitches to drive, and you know, when guys are on base knocking them in. It really speaks to what this team is made of.
Liura actually charged to the third baseman Huckabee. Merrill skies this one. Shallow right center field. Backpedaling as the second baseman can't make a play, and there's a hustle double or an error. In any event, Merrill ends up at second base, but That's all hustle by Merrill. He did not hesitate coming out of the box, did not stop when he thought the play was over and Gonzalez was going to make the catch. He ends up at second base.
Yeah, being a former second baseman, that's a hard play because no matter how far you get back there, you're still not far enough because that ball keeps on drifting. And, you know, it's a lot easier for a left or right fielder or center fielder to run in and get that. But as you can tell, or as we can tell, they're playing really deep, so they had no opportunity to come get that. Tough air, really good job by Merrill hustling that out.
And a chance for Steinhagen to add to the Horned Frog lead. It is an error on the second baseman, Isaac Gonzalez. Steinhagen 0 for 1, grounded out to second. His only time to the plate. What about pulling the trigger? Held up, but took a strike. Yeah, especially with the wind, although it's not blowing nearly as hard. As you know, when the wind's out of the north, it just keeps pushing the ball in that direction. And sometimes on the field, you don't feel it because the stands block the wind. And once it gets above the roof, you were more familiar with it, obviously, from playing here all the time. But how many times have we done TCU games over the years that you see the opposition not get used to the wind during batting practice or whatnot, and then it wreaks havoc during the game?
Yeah, number of times. You know, the Williams-Riley Field is kind of built down into the ground, so really like the street level is probably 15 to 20 feet above where the playing surface is. So when that ball gets above the bleachers especially, yeah, that wind is whipping around. And
Steinhagen with a swing and a miss.
I mean, there's been a number of times that balls have gone, they look like they're going to go definitely into foul territory, and the wind will push it all the way back into right. As you take a look at the flags not really moving, it actually is a really pretty night out. But yeah, it's hard to get used to it. The funniest thing that I remember is teams from the Mountain West used to come in here, used to hitting in the high altitude, and they'd come into Lupton and they'd be like, man, the ball just doesn't go anywhere here. The ball just doesn't go anywhere. You say, well, look at the wind. It's blowing dead in. You gonna get it out of here? Yeah, right.
Steinhagen strikes out, swinging for the first out of the inning.
And a good pitch there by Quinones. Looked like a slider that just bit at the end. Steinhagen couldn't keep his weight back on that. There's one down here in the third.
Ryan Johnson, the batter now. Merrill still standing out at second base. Johnson 0 for 1. Takes the first pitch for a ball. Yeah, between the, you know, and how many of those places in the Mountain West, between the altitude and the wind usually blowing dead out. Like at UNLV and that desert air, the wind would blow straight out. Balls would fly out of there. Swing and a miss.
Yeah, and I took an aviation class in high school, and it was taught that you take off and you land into the wind. And so we always loved it when we saw those Southwest flights coming in, you know, over center field, and they're coming back towards the field, and we're like, oh, wind's blowing out today, baby. That's the only shot I had to hit one out, is get one up in that.
Yeah, some of those places the ball would fly. Good pitch, but it missed outside. And Quinones really only gave up one bad pitch. That was the ball that Steinhagen hit off the left center field wall. Defense didn't help him out on the ground ball by Merrill, or the fly ball rather by Merrill. I said, I'll just do this myself then. You guys aren't going to help me.
Yeah, he threw that one right by Ryan Johnson. I mean, this is a complete transformation from the first game that we saw TCU this year. I think that just speaks to what J.D. Busfield for Loyola Marymount did, and how good he really is he shut down this TCU offense and then gave it over to the back end of that bullpen. as they wrapped up that 5-3 win for TCU's only loss on the season. But, you know, there was a lot of expectations, high expectations for this TCU offense coming into this season from what, you know, the coaching staff saw in the fall and what they saw in the early spring and in inter-squad games. And, you know, I know it's early in the season, and, you know, some guys are going to hit some slumps, but if you got Elliot Barzilli, who's going to hit 350, 400 for you, this team's going to be playing for a while.
Johnson fouls it off. And again, we talked about it at the top of the broadcast. You know, one of your better hitters, and certainly the guy with the most speed on the team, Nolan Brown, has yet to play. And you had that hamate problem when you were in school.
Mm-hmm.
Just affect your swinging? Is that what the...
Yeah, I actually broke my hamate bone playing against UT Pan Am my senior year. And I did it sliding into second. I was reaching out for the bag, and I slammed my hand down on the hard dirt down there. And, yeah, all it does is you think about the motion of swinging and breaking your wrist towards the ball, that you lose all sense of your hand. And Nolan Brown and myself, it was both our kind of pull-through hand, our bottom hand. If it's the other way around, you can finish your swing, but him being his right hand for a left-handed hitter, it's impossible to swing a bat. And I talked to Nolan a little bit before the game, and he said he tried it out a couple weeks ago, and it gave him some problems again. But I would probably say 2 to 3 weeks again on him. Usually 6 to 8 weeks to recover from that.
Johnson fouls it off. This one will end up in the upper deck on the third base side.
And I think there's been a couple instances in the last 5 or 6 years where Jim Schlossnagel and Danny Weed have seen the hamate bone injury, so they've diagnosed it a little bit sooner than we would have thought with mine, just because I didn't do it swinging a bat. They didn't know if it was another bone or if it was something else. So, you know, it's a quick, easy surgery. It's just a day surgery. But definitely, you know, once you get it done, it's not going to bother you again because they actually take a bone out of you.
That one hit Johnson. He'll head down to first base. No, they actually remove it. They don't like try to fuse it together or.
Right. Good at bat here by Johnson. Has worked that count full and was able to take one off the back of the leg. Would have been ball 4 anyways if it missed him, but yeah, it's actually a bone that hangs over a ligament in your hand, and the bone breaks off and it's kind of just floating there, and that's where the irritation is. And so they cut right down in the middle of your hand. They move the ligament to the side, they take the bone out, they put the ligament back, and they sew you back up. Now I'm a scratch golfer. Just kidding.
I was going to say, I haven't seen you swing a club, but something tells me that's a little tall of a tail. One on it, bounces one towards first. Easy play for Mercer, who grabs it and steps on the bag. The runners advance, but now they're 2 away.
Yeah, no chance there to turn 2, as that ball was not hit hard at all, and Mercer doing a good job of collecting it and getting the second out as he was playing back. Turns to look to see if he can fire behind a runner anywhere.
Horned Frogs have batted all the way around as Cam Warner comes up for the second time in the inning. Johnson out at second base for the Horned Frogs. Merrill over at third. Time is called. Warner's had a good night so far. Quinones nodded in agreement with his sign, and now he's taking a little bit of time to deliver the pitch. This is up high. 25 pitches for Quinones, who came in to the ball game a little earlier. 2 for 2 for Warner. 2-run home run earlier and a single in this inning. The Horned Frogs with a steal of home plate and a great slide to the outside by Ryan Merrill. Merrill just took off.
Yeah, and a great slide as he was able to sneak that left hand in there. I think that home plate umpire, John Osmus, made the right call. Somehow was able to see that That's reminiscent of Brian Holiday's slide out in the College World Series in 2010, where you kind of pull your arm back and reach your other arm around. That is just a great job and really good job there by Warner to stay in the box as long as possible. You could see Bill Mosiello telling him go, go, goes. You see him take his right hand back where Douglas was lunging for and sneak that left hand in there.
And Douglas is trying to plead his case to John Osmus. Jim Schlossnagle, you know, with Merrill's back, he might be like, I don't. And the big lead is now 8.
And those are the kind of things that Jim Schlossnagle really on the first day of fall practice, he wets down a tarp in one of the outfields, and all you do for about 30 minutes is practice sliding, practice how far you can get away from a base and still touch it. And, you know, you'll see over the course of the season that TCU, they'll take chances like that. And, you know, it's hard for an infielder or a catcher, because you're anticipating a runner's hand or leg be somewhere, and when it's not, you have to lunge for it. You know, it's hard to adjust.
Johnson went to third on that steal of home by Ryan Merrill. And Warner walks. So Warner goes down to first base. That's the 4th walk in a hit batter in this inning. And for a team like UT Rio Grande Valley, who is struggling a little bit to kind of figure out their personality, figure out who they are, and you're playing a team like TCU, which right now is clicking on all cylinders, the last thing you want to do is give the Horned Frogs extra outs.
Yeah, it's a bad combination for a team that's struggling offensively in a team that is just clicking on all cylinders up and down the lineup, you know, giving them 5 extra base runners in one inning, and you see what TCU's been able to do with it. They've scored 6 runs. You know, that's what good quality teams do, is they take advantage of opportunities.
Evan Scoug at the plate, walked earlier this inning. Takes the first pitch for a ball. Scoug has been really good behind the plate this year, throwing better this year than he did last year as a freshman, and he's been playing, you know, 1 game a week at first base and doing a nice job over there as well. Good swing, fouled it back.
Yeah, I think that Friday night game against Loyola Marymount was a good wake-up call for Scoug to say that he's going to be challenged this year as far as trying to throw out runners. Is Loyola Marymount, I think, had 7 stolen bases that pretty much led to all of their games. So, you know, he's been working hard over the last couple weeks to shorten his throwing motion up, get the ball down to second base quicker, and you can see it's already paid off tonight, throwing out a runner in the first.
Scoug 0 for 1 rather. With the walk, it's Douglas. Been back there a long time. Robert Quinones tries to get the final out of the inning with runners at the corners now for TCU. Scoug way ahead in the count now. Johnson over at third for the Horned Frogs. Warner over at first. Scoug in the batter's box. There goes the runner. Warner from first, and wouldn't have mattered anyway. It was ball 4. So back-to-back walks. The bases are loaded up once again for the Horned Frogs.
Yeah, I think Douglas realized right when he was about to throw that down to second base that it was ball 4, and just kind of lobbed it down there. And we'll see how patient Lucan Baker is this at bat. Hadn't been able to swing the bat much in his first 2 at bats. Coming up here with the bases loaded, nowhere to put him. You know he's probably going to get a couple good pitches to hit. See if he's a little bit more aggressive here early in the count.
Yeah, he may be looking for something, anything over the plate that he can put a good swing on with 2 outs and the bases loaded. 6 runs already in for the Horned Frogs here this inning. doesn't get the fastball, gets the breaking ball, and that shows you how much respect they have for the freshman Luken Baker. Bases loaded, nowhere to put him, and you start him off with a breaking ball. He's already walked twice tonight. Ball 2. And again, you know, you have to be impressed with the patience. Johnson, Warner, and Skaug aboard for the Horned Frogs.
I know we've seen a lot of times guys get in this situation and they're up there hacking and getting themselves in bad hitters counts. And, you know, I think that Baker is perfectly content on taking a walk here, but if you throw him something out over the plate, he's going to take a hack at it, and that ball could go a long way.
Stuck a fastball by him on the inside corner to run the count to 2-1. Quinones up to 34 pitches in this inning. Or check that, 37 pitches in this inning. Ball 3. Well, they're certainly testing Baker's patience because they're just not throwing him anything to hit.
It doesn't get any easier if he walks Baker, as Watson's on deck, and he's another guy you can't throw fastball at your fastball to.
There's ball 4. The ball gets behind the catcher, but it won't matter as the run will score easily as Johnson crosses the plate to make it 9-0. Bases still loaded. Skaug now out at second base.
As you can see, that ball is nowhere close to the strike zone. Baker has an easy take there. 3 walks. We'll have to look up the TCU record for most walks in a game. Baker's on a pretty good streak right here, 3 in 3 innings.
And that may do it for Robert Quinones as the bullpen gate opens up and the new pitcher jogs in. As Quinones cannot get out of the inning. We'll tell you all about the new pitcher when we come back. TCU leading it 9-0. TCU with a 9-0 lead as the Vaqueros go back to their bullpen and they call on Parker Gallegos.
Yeah, the senior from Gilbert, Arizona, has appeared in 3 games so far in 2016, has not given up in earned runs, given up 2 hits and 3 2/3. 2 strikeouts, no base on balls, 13 batters faced, holding opponents to hitting a .54. Made 10 starts last year for the Vaqueros and 12 appearances, had a complete game, 51 2/3 innings pitched. Tough spot to put the senior here as Watson will be up with the bases loaded. 2 outs for the Horned Frogs here in the 3rd inning, which has already seen 7 Horned Frogs cross the plate, and lead has ballooned to 9-0 TCU over Rio Grande Valley.
Quinones, 2/3 of an inning, 1 hit, 4 walks, no strikeouts. He gave up 4 runs. Does lead with property on base, hit a batter. See some of the fans in attendance tonight, enjoying a night at the ballpark.
Yeah, and with this inning lasting now about 40 minutes for the Horned Frogs, be interesting to see if Dalton Horton heads back out on the mound or if his night is over. He's been sitting over there quite a bit. We can't tell from our vantage point if he is still in the dugout or maybe he's underneath running or loosening up his arm, but it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of action out there in the TCU bullpen, but he definitely has been sitting for a while.
Watson with the bases loaded, 2 away, takes the first pitch for ball 1 from Gallegos. And Gallegos has a low kind of 3/4 delivery. See what Watson has done tonight. 0 for 1, bounced into a fielder's choice. He's also walked. The walk came earlier this inning as He's the 13th man to come to the plate this inning for the Horned Frogs. Had a good rip there, just came up empty.
Yeah, that 3/4 arm angle is going to cause that ball to tail away from left-handed hitting Watson. So Gallegos is going to try to sit out there on the outer half and have that ball tail away to see if Watson will offer at it like he did there.
Gallegos trying to get the final out of the inning. That one not close enough to entice Watson.
Yeah, it looked like he went to the changeup there at 1-1.
See Warner over at third. Scoug out at second. Luke and Baker over at first base for the Horned Frogs, who have loaded the bases a couple of times in this inning. Barzilli cleared him out with a triple off the wall earlier. Tap foul. And now Watson's in the hole. We'll check that. It's 2-2. Yeah, this inning's gone on for a while. Like you said, there's nobody throwing right now in the Horned Frog bullpen, so that would lead me to believe that Dalton Horton's going to come out and try and get through the fifth and pick up a win. He's pitched well, and now he's got a big lead. Bouncer right side, gloved by Gonzalez, and they get the final out. But not before. The Horned Frogs score 7 times on 2 hits, helped along by 3 errors and a boatload of walks. It is now 9-0 TCU. Jim Schlossnagle checking out his lineup card. I wouldn't be surprised to see him start to get some guys into the game with the big lead here. You see that Horton is still in the contest. He's only thrown 36 pitches through 4. There is a new catcher in for the Horned Frogs, Zach Plunkett. Now catching. Well, Jim Schlossnagle, last year Scout rarely got any rest, especially late in the season. He caught every game. He's been giving Plunkett an opportunity behind the plate at least once a week. And with the big lead here, decides to get Zach Plunkett in the game and not only give Scoug a rest, but hopefully get Plunkett going offensively.
Yeah.
Swing and a miss.
Yeah, Plunkett has shown signs of being really good offensively. Early last year, hit a big home run at Arizona State to lead the Horned Frogs to victory in Arizona. But yeah, I agree. I think this is a good move here by Coach Schlossnagle, getting Plunkett some time, getting him used to catching some of these guys who are going to come into the game and give Scoug a little bit of a break leading into a big weekend against Gonzaga.
Yeah, Gonzaga will be here this weekend for a 3-game series. Horned Frogs, this is the start of an 8-game homestand for TCU. 3 against Gonzaga tonight. A week from tonight, UTA, who's got off to a very good start, beating some quality teams. They'll come into Lupton Stadium, and then USC. This one is lined in the left field, base hit. Watson over to pick it up, and he'll get it back into the infield, but a leadoff single for Cole Longcar.
Yeah, that ball was ripped by Longcar. It looked like Horton wanted to sneak a fastball in on his hands, and Longcar able to turn on that and smoke it out there. Good play there by Watson to get that ball back in. Longcar with a big round of first bases.
Second consecutive inning that the Vaqueros have gotten the leadoff guy on. Last inning, Austin Douglas walked to start the inning off, but he was left stranded. Scott Mercer at the plate. Grounded out his only time up. Takes the first pitch for a ball. Mercer grounded to short. Here comes Jim Schlossnagle out of the dugout. And now the bullpen starts to mill around out there.
Yeah, I don't think this is doesn't look like a very friendly conversation that Coach Schlossnagle is having. I don't know if he was upset with the location of that last pitch or what it was, but he kind of had that look on his face that said, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, and usually he'll send Kirk Sarloos out there to straighten things out as the bullpen begins to get busy for the Horned Frogs. The right-hander, Devin Rodell throwing. Schloss said he would probably get Rodell into the game today. And after the conversation, a good pitch that time by Dalton Horton.
Yeah, I think the conversation was, hey, even though this game is 9-0, you know, like you alluded to earlier, you're auditioning right now. You better keep pitching, and you better, you know, throw some quality pitches in there. And he came right back with a changeup that had Mercer out in front, and then paint the corner there on with a fastball. Just tried to get the young freshman refocused in on his job at hand.
You look at Scott Mercer there. Choking up on the bat, just trying to put the fat part of the bat on the ball. That pitch gets away from Plunkett, and Longcar scrambles to second base.
Yeah, that looked like a case there of mixing up signals. That I think Plunkett thought a fastball was coming, and I think he flipped a changeup in there, and Plunkett kind of got a little handcuff there. Good base running by Longcar to scamper down to second.
Pass ball charged to Zach Plunkett. Bouncer towards Barzilli, looks the runner back, and then fires a strike across to 100 for the out. Good job by Elliot Barzilli, who's really doing a good job. He played a lot of third base last year in the place of Derek Odell.
Yeah, he really looks comfortable over there. You know, for so many years it was Carpenter and then Whitty and then Odell. You know, it's crazy to see a new face over there, but you know, those first couple plays that he made to start this game, and then that one where he just looks so natural over there, I think that he's taken a liking to over there. And hey, when you're hitting 600, how can you not be having fun, right?
I wouldn't know. I never hit 600.
Well, neither did I, but I'm just guessing.
I'm sure it's a lot more fun than hitting below the Mendoza line.
Yeah, that's where I know.
Pitches down low for a ball to the pinch hitter, Corey Davis. Davis hitting a .143. He's 3 for 21. Does have an RBI. He's walked 6 times. Also struck out 6 times this year. Way out in front. I think you'll see both coaches start to get guys in the game. Get some critical playing time for guys who haven't had a chance. And as a reward, a lot of times, you know, you talk to Jim Schlossnagle, he likes to reward guys, you know, when games kind of get out of hand like this. He likes to try and reward some of the guys who put out practice and really work hard, and, you know, may have, you know, a guy like Barzilli in front of him who's hitting 600, so you're not taking him out of the game, no matter how hard you're competing in practice. But when you get a chance, get him in the game and let him have a chance to hit and field and go out and play.
You bet. Those guys that, you know, are, you know, practice hard and inter squad hard and hit the weights hard and do everything right, but may not get the opportunity to play every day. You know, that's why they're out here. They want to play. So definitely whenever they're given the opportunity, they're going to have a lot of fun with it. I know Coach Schlossnagle likes to get everyone in there and get everyone a couple at bats, because you never know what's going to happen throughout the season. They might get thrust into a situation where they have to start and they have to start contributing. You know, you see that all the time in college baseball. There's guys that maybe we're going to redshirt, had to get thrown into it, and they become big contributors to teams.
Austin Oaks now at the plate. Gets it on the ground. Barzilli fields, goes to second for 1. Warner on the transfer dropped the baseball. So there are 2 outs as he tried to get it over to first base to complete the double play, but couldn't.
You know, that was a really good job there by Barzilli. Is he could have really rushed this throw and thrown it wild. He controlled himself, gave Warner a nice throw, and just, I think Warner tried to rush it a little bit too much himself and was ruled out on the transfers. He had control of it, but from taking it from his glove to his hand, he lost control, so it'll go down as a 5-4 put out.
Batter now, Caden Rosehall takes the strike. Rosehall looking down at the third base coach. Plunkett looks into the dugout at Kirk Sarlus for the sign before he relays it. Out to Dalton Horton. That pitch missed. Rosehall 0 for 1, bounced back to the box to end the second inning. Over at third base, Longcar for Rio Grande Valley. They're trying to get on the board. They are trailing 9-0. Horton's pitch missed. Longcar just dancing back and forth over there over at third base. Over at first base is Oaks. He walked a moment ago. Little bouncer that right side, fielded by Warner, who does a nice job. And Wanhanen also recognizing it, got back in time to keep Rio Grande Valley from scoring. No runs, a hit. They leave a couple. 9-0. Welcome back to Lupton Stadium. 9-0 Horned Frogs as we begin the bottom half of the fourth inning. On a still a pleasant night, although it's getting cooler. TCU baseball season tickets. There's a new general admission season ticket available, so you can see every game this year for only $165. Home schedules feature the Big 12 series against West Virginia, Kansas State, OU, and Texas Tech, plus the series against Gonzaga coming up this weekend. Go to GoFrogs.com and pick up your general admission season ticket now. And by the way, they're going pretty quick, so I wouldn't wait.
They are.
And as good as this team is, I think part of the deal is you'll be able to be in line to get the same general admission ticket for the postseason. So
Yeah, that's my understanding too. If you buy a season ticket, then you will have an opportunity to buy at least the same amount of postseason tickets, whether it be for a regional or super regional or both, if TCU were to be a
national
regional
seed.
host and national seed, as they were last year.
And the year before, Barzilli absolutely crushes this ball. Ends up back by the Loudon Player Development Center.
And I think TCU had two of the most memorable games all of 2015 college baseball season. The game against NC State in the regional, which how they came back and won that game, I still can't figure out. And then the 16-inning thriller against Texas A&M in the game 3 of that super regional when neither team wanted their season. And that was just a great college baseball game if you were able to stay up and watch it.
Yeah, I stayed up.
I did too.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. I mean, they were both incredible games. That the NC State comeback is just one for the ages. I mean, it really was pitched down low to Barzilli. You know, it's one of those games where you really thought, you know, I was doing radio and I thought, how am I going to end this? I mean, how am I going to end the season? Barzilli with a ground out and a triple. Reached home on the error after that triple during his last at bat that cleared the bases. Here's a good look at the 2015 College World Series logo out on the wall. 3 of them out there. Popped up and gloved by the catcher, Douglas.
Good mixture of pitches there by Gallegos as he was able to get that fastball in on Barzilli's hand. And if you're getting that guy out, you're doing something really good. Is take another look at that two-seamer that just kept running. Those are the hardest pitches to hit because you're trying to get the barrel to the ball, and that ball just keeps running in on you. Those are those kind of, you know, if you're playing at the next level with a wooden bat, that barrel of that bat is flying somewhere.
Yeah, that's a broken bat. When you hit it that low on the handle. There he goes. Come on, done a nice job. Ryan Merrill at the plate. He's been on base twice.
But I'm with you. Watching that NC State game, you're thinking it was a great season TCU had.
Line right center field. That's a base hit. And Merrill with his second hit the other night. Well, you can see how quick a bat he's got as he jumped all over that.
Yeah, kept his hands back, just fired the barrel at that shot it into the gap. Looked like a changeup that Gallegos tried to throw. Stayed up a little bit. Good at that bat there by Merrill. Get something going here in the 4th inning. But you're thinking, you know, they won the Big 12. They're a national seed, hosted a regional. You get to the regional final game and really battling back because they lost to NC State. And you're thinking, man, they just didn't play very good. And NC State was hitting the ball all over the place. And I can't remember who started that game. I want to say it was Alex Young that started that game. Might have been Alexander. And then all of a sudden it was like NC State walks someone. There's an error. There's a walk. There's a hit. And you're like, you know what? This could get interesting with another hit here or there. And
Strike call on Steinhagen. Yeah, that's a good example. As you see, Steinhagen's grounded out and struck out 0 for 2. But it's a classical example. If you just take it one pitch at a time, one at bat at a time, and try to string some good things together, once the snowball starts rolling downhill, it's real tough to stop. And that's what happened to NC State.
yeah,
It just started to go down. More confidence all of a sudden on the Horned Frog side. All of a sudden, NC State's starting to get less confident.
yeah,
And they're making mistakes. They're not throwing to the right base.
yeah.
All of a sudden, you know, it's
And the advantage of having an outstanding regular season and earning a national seed so you can play in front of your home crowd.
Right.
And in front of 7,000 fans that stayed. And then whenever everything started to go backwards for NC State, you know, there was just so much energy in Lupton Stadium that it was almost to a point where you knew, well, TCU's going to win this now. And when they tied it up, that was my thought, was TCU's going to win. There's no way they should win this and you know, should be in this situation, but they're going to end up winning this game. And
yeah, Jim Schlossnagle really credits the fans. He said, I mean, you know, the energy in this ballpark in that 8th and 9th inning was just unbelievable. Swing and a miss. Good pitch by Gallegos, and Steinhagen strikes out.
Gallegos went to the slider there. He's only sitting about 78, 80 miles an hour through this little frisbee slider up there, and Steinhagen way out in front of it. Steinhagen, a guy that really likes to use the right side of the field. He's pulled off a couple of pitches tonight.
Yeah, that one was probably unhittable anyway. I don't think it was ever really in the strike zone. That's where Preston Morrison had that little frisbee slider he'd throw up there once in a while. The only thing with him was he'd start it where it looked hittable, and then it would end up 3 feet outside by the time it got there. Look at Scow just hanging out. In the air, left side, shallow left field. Calling for it is Collazo, and he makes the catch for the final out of the inning. So for the first time tonight, the Horned Frogs don't score. For the second time tonight, it's still 9-0 TCU. See some of the students making their way across campus to watch this ball game. You know, it's usually really good student attendance for these games here at Lupton Stadium. Students come out in full force to support all TCU athletics, but certainly baseball. '61st meeting between TCU and UT Rio Grande Valley. TCU leads the series 46-13. They played to 1 tie. The Horned Frogs 18-0 here at Lupton Stadium against the team formerly known as Pan Am. So if you look it up and you wonder, well, they haven't played that much, that's why. New pitcher for the Horned Frogs, that would be the left-hander Drew Gooch.
Yeah, Gooch, the sophomore out of Argyle High School in Argyle, Texas. He's made 2 appearances so far in 2016. 1 inning. He's given up 1 hit. 2015 made 9 appearances, going 1-0 and 7 2/3, giving up 12 hits, 5 runs, all earned, 5 base on balls, 5 strikeouts. TCU's a combined 8-3 whenever Gooch gets into a game. Usually comes in to see a lefty here or there. It's one of those luxuries that Jim Schlossnagle had last year and looks like to have again this year, as he can match up when he needs to, depending on the lineup that the opponents throw out there. But Gooch is a good-looking sophomore out of Argyle, just north of Fort Worth.
Dalton Horton goes 4 innings, gives up 3 hits, 2 strikeouts, 2 walks, a wild pitch. He threw 56 pitches while in the game, and the first pitch from Gooch to the catcher Douglas Austin, or Austin Douglas rather, is swung on and missed.
Yeah, and Horton did basically everything that Horned Frog coaching staff wanted him to do, get through 4 innings unscathed, only giving up those 3 hits, and looked pretty good, I thought, for his first college start. Pounded the strike zone, pitched out of the stretch quite a bit, but was able to get out of some innings, and I think he's going to be a guy that's going to earn some more playing time very soon.
2 balls and a strike on Douglas as he takes low. Douglas walked his only time to the plate. That was leading off the 3rd. Rio Grande Valley 0 for 7 with runners on and 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position tonight. Austin Douglas walks for the 2nd time in the ballgame. Yeah, the only thing you can say that, you know, he in that last inning was that Horton didn't, you know, quite have command. You know, but he had been sitting there for a long time.
Right. Yeah, I think that might have been one of the reasons why Coach Schlossnagel wanted to throw him back out there, as Kirk Saarloos is going to make a quick visit to the mound to talk to Gooch here, is to see how he would react after sitting for a while. You know, Coach Schlossnagel is known to do some pretty interesting things to test the mental stability of his players. Remember, back when I was playing, he brought in crowd noise, brought in his daughter's iPod one day and put her music on. I think she was probably 6 or 7 at the time, so, you know, you could only imagine what kind of music that was, and cranked it up because he wanted us to understand that there's some things that you can't control in the game, and you've got to learn to focus, and you've got to learn to really control the things that you can't control, which are your attitude and your effort. And, you know, I think that he was challenging Horton there to, you know, he very easily could have went to the bullpen after sitting over there, but he wanted to throw him back out there and let him refocus, let him find himself again, and Horton was able to get through it.
Well, yeah, and that pays dividends later on in the year. If you need Horton, you know, or there's, like you said, you know, the situation where he has to pitch and then there's a lengthy inning or for whatever the case may be, and he still needs him to go another inning or 2, you know, he'll be able to kind of go back and have sensory memory almost of what it was like to get through there.
Yeah, and you know, I think the biggest example of having to wait around a lot or you know, maybe warm up and sit back down is, you know, come regional time here in the state of Texas. I mean, the weather's kind of unpredictable. Thunderstorms pop up at any second. I know 2 regionals I played in, it rained in the middle of games, or, you know, there was talk about moving location. So there's all sorts of things that you have to prepare for. It's kind of like the NFL teams that make it to the Super Bowl, and it's that lengthy halftime. And, you know, I remember Sean Payton talked about whenever they went to their Super Bowl back in whatever that was, 2007 or 8 or something like that, and he practiced them during the halftime and did a practice and then made them sit for 30 minutes and then let them go back out and practice, because, you know, those are the situations that you're going to incur. So, you know, I definitely think that Coach Schlossnagel was testing Horton there a little bit.
Isaac Gonzalez at the plate for his first time. Swing and a miss, got away from Plunkett. Plunkett's going to throw to second, and they don't get anybody.
Well, Gonzalez should be out because first base was occupied. So.
Yeah, I think that's what Plunkett was thinking.
Yeah, I definitely think that's what he was thinking.
He might try to throw out the...
Yeah, good pitch here by Gooch. Looked like a slider that bit down, and nice play there by Plunkett to keep in front. And, you know, that's a pretty heads-up play there by Plunkett to throw down to second instead of throwing to first, because, you know, this game a little bit's come to a little bit of a halt here, and easy to lose focus, but Plunkett definitely still in it.
Top of the order, Joe Garcia, the designated hitter at the plate. Runner at second base now with 1 away. Good breaking ball that time by Gooch.
Yeah, Gooch really has that pitch working for him. And it's got some sharp break to it and just bites right whenever it gets about 5 feet in front of the plate. To a righty, that looks like a very good pitch to hit.
Trying to spot a fastball on the outer part. Looks like one of those he tried to get him to chase. Garcia. 0 for 2. He's grounded out twice, both times to Barzilli. Over at third base. Not sure if that was a breaking ball that just got away from Gooch or a changeup that never came back. Gooch likes to wear, like a lot of players today, he doesn't bend that bill of the cap. He just takes it out of the box and puts it on his head. Swing and a miss. Good pitch.
There's that good slider again. Yeah, I think he threw a couple changeups that got away from him a little bit and then went back to that sharp slider that just ducks underneath the barrel there.
That's a tough pitch because it's almost, like 10-4, kind of coming down and it's not just.
Yeah, especially in that location.
Hit sharply, a nice diving catch by Cam Warner. He can do it all out there tonight. No runs, a hit, one man left on base for Rio Grande. We go to the middle of the fifth, 9-0 TCU. There's some folks enjoying the new berm out there in right field, or they were. I think it looks like they're going to pack it up and go home with a 9-0 lead. Again, some of the TCU students. There's some tough guys right there wearing shorts. See, the guy from Colorado, smart. He's got the sweatshirt on.
He knows how to pack for the cold weather.
It's out in right field, a terraced area out in right field behind the right field wall. And you can see the fence has been altered out there so you can see through the fence. As the weather gets better, that's going to be a great place to watch a baseball game.
Yeah, that's going to be some prime real estate out there. TCU even went as far as putting ribbon scoreboards kind of right in their line of sight so they don't have to turn their head and look over at the score, something that they did whenever they put the patio areas over on the right field line. Yeah, this Lupton Stadium has really morphed into one of the nicer college baseball venues across the country.
Leading off for the Horned Frogs, Connor Wanhonnet, top of the order for TCU. Wani takes a strike. Getting 250 now is Wanhonnet.
Yeah, if TCU is scoring all the runs that they are and Wanhonet's hitting 250, which that's the Wanhonet we're used to seeing, is using the middle of the field and hitting the ball right on the nose. Once Wanhonet starts to get going and hitting extra base hits, this TCU offense is going to be even scarier as you look at that good approach, just using that middle of the field. And like we alluded to earlier, there's not very many times whenever Wanhonnet makes contact that he does not hit the ball really hard.
Yeah, he's just got a nice swing and nice easy swing.
And I wonder if part of, and it's not like he's struggling to start the year, he's hitting a lot of balls hard, but some of that has to do with him learning first base and getting into game action and concentrating on that a little bit too much and kind of putting his focus on that. I know he still takes a ton of swings and works on his offensive game, but that's not easy because he was the DH last year. He DH'd probably 60 games for them, and that's all he had to worry about. Well, learning bunt coverages and where to go on cuts and relays, that weighs on you a little bit, and I wonder if that's part of his kind of slow start to start the year.
Check swing, foul ball down the first base line by Warner. You saw Warner 2 for 2 with a walk tonight as Wanhonnet heads back to first base.
You look like that two-seamer getting in on Warner's hands, as you can tell. That's hard to lay off of.
I think that could add something to do it, and I think also batting leadoff. I don't think that's a normal spot for him to be at. Throw over to first bases. Wanhonnet has to dive back.
Yeah, I would agree. I would definitely agree because, you're seeing the pitcher for the first time, and then, part of your job as a leadoff hitter is just to go back and report what you saw.
In the air to right field. And Oaks is there to make the catch. Juan Honan back to first.
Yeah, Warner gave that one a good ride. Warner's hit the ball hard a number of times today. That's just a pretty swing staying behind that. Yeah, leading off, if you're not a natural leadoff hitter and haven't done it your entire life, you know, we had the privilege of watching Cody Jones for the past few years, and he did it just about as good as anyone I'd ever seen, working counts and bunting, and then when he gets on stealing, and, you know, of course he was a switch hitter, so he could tell, you know, anybody, you know, whether right or left what's coming. But I remember I was batting in the 2-hole to start my junior year, and we played a doubleheader against Ole Miss, and Coach Lacheneau came up to me and said, we're going to put you leadoff because they wanted Clint Arnold to bat in the middle of the order because Clint was driving the ball all over the place. And I was happy because I thought, well, hey, he's going to throw a fastball first pitch to me, right? I'll just swing at that thing because that's about all I could hit. But, yeah, it's difficult. It definitely is.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I think it's a different mindset. You know, you have to go up to a different mindset. As you see Plunkett getting his first opportunity to hit in this ball game after replacing Scoug a couple innings ago behind the plate. Juan Honan still over at first base with 1 out for the Horned Frogs here. They lead it 9-0. Yeah, it's definitely a different way of thinking, and all fall, and really right up until a week before the season, Juan Honan didn't think he was going to be leading off. He thought Nolan Brown would be leading off, so he wasn't mentally preparing or preparing himself for that endeavor. I think he's done a good job accepting the role and doing, you know, getting on and trying to do what he can.
Yeah. Well, you know, regardless of where Juan Honan hits in the lineup, he's going to have great at-bats. And you know what you're getting out of him. Last year, he was looked at more of when Cody Jones got on, he was going to drive him in. And now to start this year, his main objective is to get the rally started. So it definitely is a different mindset that he's going into each game thinking. But, you know, knowing Connor for a year now and knowing the kind of guy he is, you know, he's up for any challenge. And, you know, if Nolan comes back and they say, hey, you know what? We kind of liked how Nolan was doing last year, hitting 8 or 9 and giving us that second leadoff guy. Just go ahead and keep Juan Honan up there.
Line towards left center field off the glove of the center fielder, Longcar. Juan Honan's going to be held up at third as Plunkett stops at second. Plunkett hit that ball hard the opposite way.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they scored this. It looked like Longcar had that in his glove, but he had to run a long way to get it. And I think that'd be a tough error if you give it to him. Plunkett really smoked that ball to right center, and good base running there by Juan Honan as he was almost all the way at second base.
It is a double for Zach Plunkett. And Lucan Baker steps in now with runners at second and third, 1 away. Baker has the hat trick in walks tonight. 3 plate appearances, 3 walks for Lucan.
Still not getting the first pitch fastball.
They probably watched the game from down in.
Well, he's not pitching tonight, so he's not going to hit a home run.
That's true. It is kind of selfish, don't you think? He only helps himself. When he's on the mound, he hits his home runs. Good pitch on the inside corner. Gallegos done a nice job out of the pen. Juan Honan over at third for the Horned Frogs, trying to extend the lead. But Gallegos has done a good job kind of just settling things down a little bit, throwing a lot more strikes than his predecessors did.
Yeah.
In the first 2 pitchers walked 8 combined. Baker to jump out of the way of that 79-mile-an-hour pitch. Juan Honan started down the line and backed up when the ball didn't get away from Douglas.
Do you remember the count that Baker hit that home run on in Houston?
I don't.
Because it seems to me that Baker, he's looking for a pitch just out over the plate, something he can extend on, and early in the count, he's not really offering on these pitches that are inside.
Takes strike 2.
But I know the pitch that he hit out in Houston it looked like a 2-seamer that was coming back into the plate, and he was able to keep his hands as Gallegos threw a nice breaking ball, kind of backed up on him there. I think that was a changeup that caught a piece of the plate to even this count up at 2-2.
Yeah, there's not much Lukin could have done with that pitch. Even if he swung at it, he probably just hit the top of it, bounced it towards third. Showing real good discipline, knowing what he can drive and what he can't. The outfield playing extremely deep with Baker at the plate. Went to the fastball, showed it to him, but way out of the strike zone. Now probably go back to something soft.
Yeah, if Baker can keep up this plate discipline like he has shown early on this season, he's in store for a monster year. Because guys are going to get to the point where they say, we're either going to not throw him anything to hit and he's going to walk, or we're going to have to challenge him, and we'll see how good we can do on that. I mean,
and it's, as long as Josh Watson keeps swinging the bat as well as he has behind him, you get a little deeper in where the games are meaningful. You don't want to walk Baker and then put Watson up at the plate, who's a switch hitter. So right now, good protection for Baker, just like Baker's doing a good job of protecting Skaug.
Yep.
Fisted in the air down the right field line. This could be trouble. It's a fair ball. That's going to score 2. Baker with an RBI base hit, just dumped it over the infield. That's now an 11-0 TCU lead.
Yeah, kind of just fought off this high two-seamer, showed his strength there, got it over the outstretched arms of Corey Davis, who's come in to play first base. And, hey, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, right? As he just found an open hole there for a 2 RBI single, and looks like Manny Montrana is going to make another call to the Vaquero bullpen as Zach Martinez is going to get an opportunity to pitch here.
Oh, Mantrana goes out. Mantrana goes out to the mound. The bullpen door swings open one more time, and here comes the new pitcher, Zach Martinez, into the ball game. While he comes on, we'll take a timeout. TCU leading 11-0. The new pitcher for the Vaqueros is the right-hander, Zach Martinez, 6'1", 190 out of Harlingen, Texas.
He's made 4 appearances so far in 2016. Pitched to a clip of a 5.4 ERA, 8 hits, 3 runs, all earned, 2 strikeouts. He's faced 22 batters, opponents hitting at a clip of 364 against him. Appeared in 10 games, 2015 with 1 start. Came in a big spot against Abilene Christian earlier this year with the bases loaded and 1 out, and immediately induced a double play to escape the jam. He's in another one here as Lukin Baker is on at first with 1 out, and Josh Watson coming to the plate.
For Gallegos, he goes an inning and 2/3 because of 4 hits, 2 runs, both earned. Does leave with property on base, a strikeout, no walks. Faced 9 batters, ended up throwing 34 pitches while in the ball game. But if nothing else, at least he threw some strikes.
Yeah, ate up some innings for this Vaqueros club.
Josh Watson will be the batter with the righty on the mound, and TCU with an 11-0 lead. 8 hits now for the Horned Frogs, who have had double-digit hits in almost every game. This is game number 8 for TCU, and I think in 6 of them, Frogs have had double digits in hits against some quality pitching this past weekend.
Yeah, I was very impressed with what they were able to do. You know, hitting is contagious. A couple guys get going, and then all of a sudden, you know, you think that everyone up and down the lineup is going to hit. And it's funny how the confidence kind of shifts from who has the upper hand. You know, a lot of times hitters think, oh, the pitcher has everything figured out. Well, the pitcher's probably, you know, could be thinking, man, this hitter looks like I can't throw him anything. And, you know, this last weekend was a case where every time the Horned Frog hitters went up there, they were thinking that they were just going to find a hole and hit a ball hard. And You know, that's a good groove to get in as a team.
Yeah, Baker, Brian Howard, Dane Steinhagen each earned a spot on the all-tournament or classic team. Steinhagen and Watson hit their first career home runs down there.
It's not a bad place to hit your first career home run, huh? Big League Park.
I know, not bad at all. The other impressive part of all of this, you know, we've been talking about how good the hitting is, and the Frogs lead the Big 12. Coming into tonight, they were hitting .328 as a team. That led the Big 12. I think the most impressive thing, though, is the fact how good their pitchers have been. They lead the Big 12 with a 1.03 ERA. Their bullpen has not given up a run in 20. Well, coming into the game in 24 2/3 innings, and now you tack on Gooch's last inning, fouled. And I think that's the surprising part, just because you lost so much on the mound. Even though you lost all those position players, the expectation was, you know, when you lost some of those guys like Alexander, Young, and Morrison, your three main starters, and Farrell and Tico, those five guys contributed so much that there was going to be a somewhat of a drop-off, at least in the beginning of the year. Hasn't happened.
Yeah,
and it's not like they're playing shabby opponents.
Right, right.
On the ground, off the side of the mound, and bobbled by the shortstop, and by the time he's able to pick it up, there's no chance to throw anyone out. That'll be an error on the shortstop, and that is the fourth error of the night.
And fisted on Watson. It's kind of one of those plays that's hit so hard or just so soft that you get caught a little flat-footed. It took a big hop coming off that mound as Baker is going to be removed for, looks like Michael Landestoy coming into the game. But hitting off that mound, I think Rossholt was thinking that it was going to hit right at him. It slowed him up and kind of got an in-between hop and ate him right up.
And now Jim Schlossnagle is just going to start to empty his bench as Trent Franson is going to hit for Barzilli.
Franson, freshman out of Houston, Lutheran South Academy. He's had 2 at-bats so far this season, 1 for 2 with a double and an RBI.
Chance to pick up his first RBI, or no, I guess you said he had an RBI.
His second.
His second. It wouldn't be his first then, would it? He had a good round of batting practice. I was in the field during BP, and he was hitting the ball well, right back through the middle, doing a good job of just taking, you know, the ball the round was to the right side or back up the middle, and he consistently hit the ball that way. The pitch gets behind the catcher, Douglas, back to the backstop, and both runners will advance. Landestoy ends up over at third base, the pinch runner, and Watson now out at second base.
Yeah, I think a fastball just got away from Douglas on that. Off the tip of his glove will go as a pass ball. Yeah, and going back to the TCU bullpen, you know, when you say expectations, I think that you meant as probably around college baseball and as a fan of TCU. I think the expectations in the clubhouse and of the coaching staff have always stayed the same.
Yes.
Even though guys are gone, they don't care. You know, it's kind of the so what mentality that the next guy up is expected to do just as good. And I think that all the guys have really bought into that.
Franson hits it hard back up the middle and off the leg of the pitcher Martinez. He'll end up at first base. A run scores on the play as Landestoy crosses the plate to make it a 12-0 game.
And there Franson does pick up his second RBI of the season. It's kind of unfortunate that Zach Martinez got his leg in the way of that. That probably would have scored too. Looks like Martinez is going to be okay and stay in the game. But good piece of hitting there by Franson, staying up the middle.
And Franson with a base hit and an RBI. Watson went to third on the play as Landestoy scored. So their runners at first and third. 12-0 TCU. And Ryan Merrill will step in. Yes, what I meant was the fans and the media and everybody else was thinking that there would be a drop-off after the loss of those 5 guys. And
you had to. They lost so much that, especially, I mean, we talk about the starters. Teakle was probably
pulled off the glove of the first baseman, Davis. He shovels over in time to get the out. The run scores, and it's now 13-0.
And Merrill hit that one good. Again, good play over there by Corey Davis, knocking that down. Might have had an opportunity to turn a double play if he came with that cleanly, but takes the sure thing. Josh Watson scores easily for the 13th run for the Horned Frogs. But yeah, I think, you know, losing Teakle, he was the guy that any situation in pretty much every game, his number was called, whether that was to get 1 out or whether that was to get 6 or 7 outs. So, yeah, I think it was just natural for everyone around the program to have that expectations. But those guys within it, you know, it's kind of like, I think, you know, you and I were talking about, you know, some of the red shirts from last year, guys that were good enough to pitch, they just weren't going to. And so why not redshirt them and have them hanging around for another year so they could be just as good as Austin Wade steps in, getting it bat here.
Wade pinch hitting for Steinhagen. Austin Wade had a good game down in Houston. Jim Schlossnagle wanting to get him in the game a little bit more, and Wade pinch hit for Steinhagen in the 9th inning of the game on Sunday against the Cougars, but started on Saturday against the Rice Owls. Walked and scored, had a single, struck out. Played well out in the outfield. Yeah, I think if you've been watching TCU baseball or been coming to the stadium or listening on the radio, you realize that Trey Teakle over the last couple of years may have been the most important guy out of that bullpen. Kind of like Lockwood was back in 2009 and 10. Tyler Lockwood just sort of that guy when you needed an out or you needed 5 outs, you just went to him. Swing and a miss. Wade strikes out. That will do it for the Horned Frogs, who pick up 4 more runs on 4 hits. There was an error and they leave a man stranded. It is now 13-0 Horned Frogs. We head to the top half of the 6th inning. TCU leading by 13-0 as we start the inning. And you see Jim Schlossnagle, or check that, that is Zach Etheridge sitting on the top of the bench there. So the Horned Frogs continue to play well here in the early part of 2016. Drew Gooch still on the mound, back to work. Changes for the Horned Frogs. Trent Franson stays in the game, and he takes over at third base. Austin Wade, who pinch hit, also stays in the game. He's now in center field, and the new second baseman is Mason Hess. So Jim Schlossnagle getting a lot of guys into the ball game here. You know, it just messes my scorebook all up, I hate to tell you. Plunkett looking in for the sign from Kirk Sarloos. Longcore takes the pitch. 4 ball.
When did you first start keeping score in a book?
20 years ago.
20 years ago?
Yeah.
My brother and I used to keep score in the backyard for our little games we made up. And then we'd go through it that night and count up stats.
There you go.
And that's kind of how I learned to do
score.
that. But no, not a lot of people do that anymore.
No, I know. Longcore walks to start the inning up. I mean, I started keeping score back when I was a kid.
Sure,
I thought you meant here.
No.
There you go. Somebody keeping score in the stands, right?
Heck yeah. All right. It's a long lost art.
It is. Used to be everybody would keep score, even at home. They'd listen on the radio and keep score.
Yeah. That was before the thing we call the internet. You don't have to keep score anymore. It's at your fingertips.
That is true. Fastball taken up high by Scott Mercer. Over at first base is Longcore. He walked to begin the inning. Popped over the roof on the right side, out of play. We talked about the berm out there in right field now that's been terraced and all that kind of good stuff. And you got to look on that last fly ball from up top. The dugouts now have signage on top of them. Lots of improvements going on everywhere on the TCU campus.
Absolutely. They have definitely upgraded the facilities around the board here at TCU. The top of the dugout looks very similar to like what TCU's football uniforms would look like. Those frog skin, and then now the new at the Schollmeyer Arena, the basketball court has that same frog skin look to it.
Plunkett goes out to talk to Gooch, who is fallen behind here 3-1 after walking the leadoff man Longcar. Nobody throwing in the Horned Frog bullpen, so it's going to be Gooch. We'll have to try and at least get out of the jam for right now. Mercer 0 for 2, a couple of ground outs. Once to short, once to third.
Yeah, I would think that if Gooch walks Mercer here, then there'll be some stirring quickly in that Horned Frog bullpen.
And he does. Back-to-back walks by Gooch.
This is exactly what you don't want if you're TCU Horned Frogs, is to give the Vaqueros free passes and, you know, not make them earn their way back into this game, because, you know, like we were talking about with NC State, we've seen some strange things happen. So, you know, all it takes is for Rio Grande Valley to, you know, put a couple guys on base, get a couple big hits, and, you know, they could find themselves right back in this game. It will take a lot, but, you know, it could happen.
Corey Davis at the plate now. Walked his first time up. Took the pitch for a ball. And Jim Schlossnagle, you can hear him now that a lot of the crowd is left. You can hear him saying, throw strikes. Line towards right field. This one gets down in front of Johnson, who gets it in as quickly as he can to hold the runner, but the bases are loaded. And that scoreless streak by the bullpen in jeopardy here with the bases loaded and nobody out.
Yeah, good piece of hitting there. Corey Davis shot that into right field. Like for a second that Ryan Johnson might have had a beat on that, but a good play to keep that ball in front of him. As that ball scampers by, then everybody scores, and Corey Davis might end up on third base or even come all the way around the score.
Dalton Brown got up in the Horned Frog bullpen after that base hit, swing and a miss by Gooch. Or by the pitch by Gooch to Austin Oaks. He's singled and bounced into a fielder's choice. And Gooch was spotting that breaking ball very well last inning. Seems to have problems with it right now as you take a good look at the right-hander loosening up for the Horned Frogs. Dalton Brown, bases loaded for Rio Grande Valley. Gooch missed with a fastball and peeled down to first base umpire Matt McKendry, who says he did not go around.
Yeah, Gooch had that curveball slider combo working last inning. He seems to definitely have lost that touch. Now he's trying to come at him with some fastballs here.
Missed with a breaking ball there. Bases loaded for Rio Grande Valley. Nobody out. Strike called.
There we go. Let's go.
And it's full 3-2.
Yeah, and obviously in this situation, the Horned Frogs will give up a run to get outs. It's a game of outs now, so they will definitely let Longcar score on a ground ball, see if they can turn two.
And the batter, Oaks, helps him out as he swings at a pitch out of the strike zone. That would have been ball 4. Second strikeout for Gooch.
Yeah, I think that's why his curveball's so good. His fastball got away from him a little bit upstairs, but he's been throwing that curveball so effective here. I think Oachman thought that was going to break down, and by the time he realized it was a fastball, it was too late.
Caden Rosehall to shortstop at the plate now. Takes the first pitch down low for a ball. And again, with the big lead, Jim Schlossnagle has the luxury here of allowing Gooch to just stay in the game and work his way out of the jam, work his mechanics back into shape. Line right to Gooch, who corrals it. That'll help you out. Fielder position, a soft liner right back at him, and the runners have to hold as Longcore's over at third, out at second base Mercer, and over at first Davis.
Yeah, and I think that if he would have let that go, it might have been a pretty easy double play because Warner was shaded up the middle there, but good reaction there, and then good presence of mind to look around at all the bases, see if he can double somebody off. But looks like Coach Schlossnagle is going to take Gooch out here and go that righty-righty matchup. This is probably one of those foreshadowing situations that the righty Dalton Brown might be getting himself into later on in this season.
So Gooch will withdraw from the premises. Brown jogs in from the bullpen out in left field. We'll take a timeout. Tell you all about the new pitcher when we come back. Bunch of fans taking some selfies while they're in the crowd here. New pitcher on for the Horned Frogs is the freshman out of Benbrook, Dalton Brown.
Yeah, Brown went to Arlington Heights High School. 6'1" freshman, has appeared in 2 games so far. Hasn't given up a run, pitched 1 inning. Good looking, hard throwing righty. This is one of those situations where they probably could have left Gooch in to face the right-handed hitter coming up, but they want to get Dalton Brown and some experience here and see if he can come in with the bases loaded, nowhere to put the Vaqueros hitter Isaac Gonzalez, and see if he can keep that scoreless streak alive here for that TCU bullpen.
And I would imagine the last thing that Jim Schlossnagle was thinking about is the scoreless streak, but
you never know. No, we know he's not worried about that.
I think he figures at some point the bullpen's going to give up runs.
You would think if they don't give up a run all season, then it's probably going to be some kind of record.
Yeah, I would think so. And it may culminate in a national championship.
Yeah, they might be dogpiling in Omaha.
Longcore over at third base. He led the inning off with a walk. Mercer out at second. Also walked and a base hit by Davis, who's over at first. Pitches in the dirt. Good job by Plunkett to get the chest protector on it, keep it in front of him.
Yeah, real nice play there.
Austin Douglas now 4 for 19. You see Longcore over at first, or third rather.
Yeah, it looked like Dalton Brown just held on to that fastball a little bit too long, spiked it into the ground.
That's the first time I think Austin Douglas has swung tonight. He's walked twice. I don't even recall him actually swinging the bat too often.
I don't either.
Bases loaded. TCU with a 13-0 lead here in the top half of the 6th inning. Got him to chase a breaking ball, and now Dalton Brown a strike away from stranding 3.
Yeah, that's a filthy pitch right there. That was just about unhittable.
Douglas choking up on the handle of the bat. In the dirt, Plunkett again does a good job to get on top of that baseball quick enough that Longcore can't think about scoring from third.
Yeah, it looked like another slider. That's perfect technique there. Got a little help on the lip there from the AstroTurf stopping it, but perfect technique is just keeping that ball in front, not letting it go anywhere.
Strike 3 call. Fastball over the inside corner. And Brown comes on to keep the streak in order for Rio Grande. They do not score after loading the bases. We head to the bottom half of the 6th inning here at Lupton Stadium. TCU with a 13-0 lead As you take a look at the brand new video board here at the ballpark out in left field. They moved the scoreboard from right to left with the new addition. About $7.5 million worth of renovations here at Lupton Stadium. They added a new locker room, classrooms, team lounge, sports medicine center. The equipment room has all been moved. Coach's office says above that facility, the new scoreboard you just had a look at there. And earlier we saw the bermed area out in right field. And every year it seems like there's some new thing being added to Lupton Stadium. And it's just become certainly one of the premier college baseball ballparks in the country.
Yeah, I really can't think of another ballpark that's on campus around the country that is as nice and just kind of has something for everyone. If you want to bring your family out and get the general admission ticket and sit out on the berm, or if you want to sit behind home plate as a season ticket, you get a look at the nice new scoreboard. And then, as a student athlete coming here, I mean, brand new locker room, training room, little weight room, the player development center with indoor cages that are accessible any time of the day, so you can come get your work in. I mean, yeah, this is it's an outstanding job by the folks here at TCU and the people that made this possible to, to see the improvements here. And, with that, with the success comes the improvements. And then, to start off the season like TCU has after, unveiling the new locker room, it's pretty special around here.
And you got a chance to tour the new locker room, I imagine, at some point, either during the alumni game or recently.
I did.
It's beautiful.
Incredible.
Yeah. Like a big league.
It really is. It really is. It's almost whenever, if you were here before the renovations and you walked in, it's almost unrecognizable when you walk in there. I had to follow someone down the hall because I thought I was going to get lost, because it used to be you walk in and there's the clubhouse and that leads to the field with the cages, and now you walk down a hall and you see all the All-Americans, you see all the the players that have come before, you see big pictures of Arrieta, who won the Cy Young, Carpenter, who's had great success, Holiday, in the big leagues, and you kind of get a sense of, wow, this program is pretty special. And the players now get to reap the rewards of some of the guys that came beforehand that laid the groundwork.
Well, like you, Johnson skies this one to left field, battling the wind and almost overrunning that was Caiozzo, but he stayed with it to make the catch, and Johnson's retired for the first out.
Yeah, the wind's picking up a little bit there. See Caiozzo looking at his glove there. Almost overran that thing, but was able to haul it in. As you see the bat by Johnson there. Caiozzo ran a long way to grab that. I know you and I were joking that whenever I got on campus here, as you take a look at the flags out there, it starts to gust a little bit. There was no padded wall in the outfield. And then at one point,
line drive the opposite way. Juan Hanen has his second base hit of the night.
And there's another good swing by Juan Hanen, staying inside that ball and not trying to do too much with it, but just shooting it the other way, as you see his just short swing approach in the middle of that hole. But whenever I started here, the outfield wall was a chain link fence basically, and then they padded it up, and now about 3/4 of it is back to being see-through chain link, although they did that for improvement wise and not for the look. It looks terrific. I mean, it doesn't look quite the same as the original chain link fence. Yeah, and it's probably not even chain link, but yeah, it just seems every year they're doing something new to Lupton Field and Lupton Stadium, and yeah, it's incredible.
Mason Hess at the plate for the first time tonight on the season. He's got 6 hits and 14 plate appearances. He's driven in 3. He's done a nice job filling in at short and second so far this year, and the way he's hitting at .429, Jim Schlossnagle is going to have to find more at bats for this guy.
Yeah, you bet. He's earning his playing time, and he's forcing Coach Schlossnagle's hand. And one of those guys that if Merrill were to come, to the ballpark and have a little bit of a limp back, or even if Warner were, come up, I don't think they would have any problem putting Hess in there at any time and knowing exactly what you're getting out of him.
He's behind in the count here, 1-2. Hess started the game against the Cougars on Sunday, had 3 hits and a walk. He's only retired once in that game. Bouncer right to the third baseman, Mercer. They go to second for one. That's all they'll get.
Yeah, nice play out there by Gonzalez to pick that one. Mercer threw that ball a little low into the dirt. Nice play there by Gonzalez to pick it. And that's always the #1 rule when you're trying to turn a double play is get that first out. You can't turn two without getting that first out. Good job by Gonzalez making sure of that one.
Zach Plunkett, who doubled to right, his only time to the plate his last time up. As a second baseman, where you like it? Did you like the ball right at your chest, right at the letters, or did you like it kind of in front of you or to one side or the other?
I was taught by the infield guru known as Todd Whitting down there at University of Houston that as a second baseman, you get to the bag. That's the first thing. You get to the bag and you put your left foot on the bag, middle of the bag, and you want that ball somewhere above your belt over the bag area, somewhere that you can handle it with your, going one way or the other, because you got two options. If it's to your left, then you move your momentum more towards first base. If it's to your right, you more catch it and kind of take a drop step and throw it sideways. So, anywhere around the bag area is pretty easy. I was fortunate enough to play with some pretty good middle infielders myself. Carpenter was at third base pretty much the entire time, and Brian Curvin was the shortstop for the majority of the time that I played second, and then flipped over, and Taylor Featherston, who's now with the Phillies, was shorter second when I played there. But, your teammates make you a lot better sometimes than you actually are. So without those guys feeding me the ball, but that's pretty much, over the bag, above the belt. It's kind of our saying that we used to say. I'm sure that Coach Whitting does it the same way down there now.
Yeah, it just makes it a little bit easier to handle. Swing and a miss by Plunkett. And that will do it for the Horned Frogs here in the 6th. No runs, a hit, one man left on base. We go to the 7th inning, 13-0 TCU. Top half of the 7th inning. Dalton Brown back to work for the Horned Frogs. Got the final out of last inning. TCU with a 13-0 lead. 10 hits now for the Horned Frogs. They played airless baseball, as you see the line score. And you see some of the youngsters hanging out. There's a decent crowd on hand when we started the game. And the entire seating area is completely sold out, so the final attendance number will be, probably 4,000 or something along those lines. But there were a decent amount of people who were here when the game began, but as the score got out of hand and the temperature dropped, more and more people have left the building.
The second baseman, Gonzalez.
It's only dropped down to 57 degrees, but I think the wind feels a little bit cooler than that. Jim Schlossnagle came out. I'm not sure who he talked to. And Isaac Gonzalez will lead things off against Brown.
I think Coach Schloss might have been getting a little cold, just want to go for a little walk.
Maybe so.
This is usually about the time he starts eating an apple in the dugout, isn't it?
Yeah. Haven't seen him go to the apple tonight. Isaac Gonzalez 0 for 1, struck out. His only time up. Tapped it foul. TCU back in action on Friday night against Gonzaga, as they come in this weekend for a 3-game series beginning on Friday night. We'll have that game on Fox Sports Southwest Plus. 6:30 first pitch, then 2 o'clock on Saturday, 1 o'clock on Sunday for the finale. UTA comes into town next weekend, or next Tuesday rather, a week from tonight. Put on the ground. Big hop for Merrill. Does a nice job to get rid of it quickly. And Gonzalez is retired.
Yeah, nice easy hop there for Merrill. Ball hit off that hard dirt right in front of the mound. Easy play for the first out. Yeah, Zags come in at 4-4. They were down in San Antonio for 4 games over the weekend. I'm assuming they probably just hung around this area. I don't think that they would have went back to Washington and came back down here, but I think it'll be an interesting test. You know, it's a team that not a lot of folks around this area probably ever get to see. Definitely play baseball. I think we're more used to seeing Gonzaga play basketball in March in their good run that they've had there. But, you know, I think it'll be a team that TCU really doesn't know a whole lot about. So, you know, and then obviously UTA coming in, always play the Frogs tough. You know, a lot of those guys probably grew up playing against each other, so everyone knows. And then, you know, I'm really excited about that USC series. USC was ranked top 25 in preseason as Brown's fallen behind here. 2-0, 3-0, check that.
Well, I think, you know, the Horned Frogs this year have, as we talked about, an interesting schedule because they're home almost the entire month of March. They do go down to Rice on the 15th and then to Austin to play the Longhorns the last weekend of the month of March. But then in April, 3 of the 4 weekends, TCU's away from home, at Wichita State, at Kansas, and at Oklahoma State. So if you're going to come out to a ball game, you probably better do it in the next 30 days because there aren't a whole lot after that. Line drive caught by Merrill. There's some midweek games and whatnot.
Yeah, good job by Dalton Brown fighting all the way back on Matthew Mendoza. And good play there by Merrill on a sinking line drive. And yeah, I think, you know, looking at that, obviously any team in the Big 12 is going to be good, whether you're playing at home or away. The Big 12 is always so tough, really in every sport. You know, I think definitely one of the series that you'd have to circle to begin the year is that trip up to Wichita, you know, playing the Shockers there at their ballpark, which is one of the tougher places to play. You know, any time of year it's going to be real windy there. The fans are kind of unruly. You know, the last time TCU was there, you know, Wichita State basically beat them up and down the field. And so they don't have fond memories of playing there. Shockers off to a little bit of a slow start this year coming into the night. They're only 2-5. But yeah, you know, I think it's definitely an interesting schedule. And yeah, usually the back half of the schedule is all home. I remember, you know, last year there was like 20 straight games at home or something. So really interesting. But, you know, Frogs are always good here. So it's hard to beat these guys at Lupton Stadium.
Foul down the first base line by Manny Laredo, pinch hitter. There's a pitch, swing and a miss. Down on strikes goes the pinch hitter Laredo, and that's going to do it as the run rule in play here tonight. At 10 runs after 7 innings, so the Horned Frogs victorious tonight by a final score of 13-0. And TCU just continues to roll, Ben, as the Horned Frogs have now won their 7th straight ball game.
Yeah, their offense was clicking. They took advantage of the opportunities that the Vaqueros gave them. And yeah, I think this team offensively, if they keep this up, they're going to be playing well into the postseason. And again, their pitching staff came through, throwing a shutout.
So the Horned Frogs now will get ready to take on Gonzaga here this weekend in a big 3-game series as TCU once again gets great pitching from their starter Dalton Horton, and then Drew Gooch and Dalton Brown out of the bullpen, keep that scoreless inning streak intact, and TCU goes on to win it by a final score of 13-0. Have a good night, everyone.